Maran Davies. Born Marion Cecilia Duras on January 3, 1897 in Brooklyn, New York, Maran Davies emerged as a prominent actress during Hollywood's golden age. Known for her comedic talent and versatility, Davies captivated audiences with her performances in silent films and later in talkies. Her career flourished under the patronage of media mogul William Randolph Hearst, with whom she had a complex and influential relationship. Despite her professional success and charm on screen, Davies faced personal challenges, most notably her struggle with alcoholism. The pressures of fame, coupled with the tumultuous dynamics of her relationship with Hearst, contributed to her reliance on alcohol as a coping mechanism. Throughout her Hollywood career, Davies battled periods of addiction, which at times overshadowed her achievements in film. Davies's association with Hearst, who exerted significant influence over her career and public image, added layers of complexity to her personal life. Despite her efforts to maintain a public facade of glamour and success, behind the scenes, Davies grappled with the private burden of addiction. Her struggles with alcoholism strained relationships and occasionally disrupted her work, reflecting the toll of her dependency. In later years, Davies' battle with alcoholism became a part of her legacy, intertwined with her contributions to early Hollywood cinema. Her story serves as a poignant reminder of the complexities faced by women in the entertainment industry during the early 20th century, navigating between personal struggles and professional aspirations amidst the glare of public scrutiny. Maran Davies passed away on September 22, 1961, leaving behind a legacy marked by her talent, resilience, and the enduring impact of her performances. Her journey through fame, intertwined with the challenges of addiction, remains a compelling chapter in the history of vintage Hollywood. Franco Tone. Born Stanislaus Pascal Franco Tone on February 27, 1905, in Niagara Falls, New York, Franco Tone established himself as a versatile actor known for his roles in classic Hollywood films. With a career spanning from the 1930s through the 1960s, Tone garnered acclaim for his ability to portray a wide range of characters with depth and sophistication. Despite his professional successes, Tone grappled with a persistent struggle with alcoholism throughout his career. The pressures of Hollywood's demanding schedules, coupled with the temptations of celebrity life, contributed to Tone's reliance on alcohol as a means of coping with the stresses of his career and personal life. Tone's battle with alcoholism often intersected with his professional endeavors, impacting his ability to maintain consistent work and affecting the quality of his performances at times. Despite his talent and dedication to his craft, periods of addiction led to sporadic career challenges and personal setbacks, underscoring the toll of his dependency on both his professional and personal life. Throughout the years, Tone made efforts to confront his addiction, seeking periods of sobriety and occasionally receiving treatment. However, the cyclical nature of alcoholism posed ongoing challenges, influencing his relationships and career trajectory in unpredictable ways. Despite these challenges, Tone's legacy endures through his memorable performances in films such as Mutiny on the Bounty, 1935, for which he received an Academy Award nomination for Best Actor in a Leading Role. His ability to bring depth and nuance to his characters despite personal struggles remains a testament to his talent and dedication to his craft. Franco Tone passed away on September 18, 1968, leaving behind a legacy marked by his contributions to classic Hollywood cinema and the enduring impact of his performances. Preston Sturgis. Born Edmund Preston Biden on August 29, 1898, in Chicago, Illinois, Preston Sturgis became renowned in Hollywood for his sharp wit and comedic genius as a writer and director. During the 1940s, he achieved acclaim for his ability to blend sophisticated humor with social commentary, making him a pioneer in the screwball comedy genre. Despite his creative success, Sturgis battled a persistent struggle with alcoholism that cast a shadow over his career. The demands of Hollywood's competitive and often tumultuous environment, combined with the pressures of maintaining a prolific output, contributed to Sturgis's reliance on alcohol as a coping mechanism. Sturgis's alcoholism affected his professional life in significant ways. At times, his addiction led to periods of erratic behavior and strained relationships with studio executives and collaborators. Despite his creative brilliance, the unpredictability stemming from his dependency occasionally disrupted production schedules and impacted the reception of his films. Throughout his career, Sturgis made efforts to confront his addiction, often seeking periods of sobriety and attempting to channel his struggles into his creative work. However, the cyclical nature of alcoholism posed ongoing challenges influencing both his personal life and professional endeavors. Despite these challenges, Sturgis left an indelible mark on Hollywood with films such as The Lady Eve, 1941, and Sullivan's Travels, 1941, which continue to be celebrated for their sharp dialogue, memorable characters, and satirical edge. His ability to inject wit and humor into his films, despite personal setbacks, remains a testament to his enduring talent and resilience in the face of adversity. Preston Sturgis passed away on August 6, 1959. William Haynes. Born Charles William Haynes on January 2, 1900 in Staunton, Virginia, William Haynes rose to prominence as a charismatic and talented actor during Hollywood's silent film era. Known for his dashing good looks and comedic timing, Haynes quickly became a popular leading man in silent films, captivating audiences with his charm and on-screen presence. In the 1920s, Haynes's career soared with successful roles in films such as Brown of Harvard, 1926, and Tell It to the Marines, 1926, establishing him as one of Hollywood's top stars. His popularity extended beyond his acting talents, as he became known for his off-screen persona as a fashionable and openly gay celebrity, which was rare and controversial for the time. However, despite his early successes, Haynes faced personal challenges that would impact his career trajectory. His struggles with alcoholism began to emerge as a significant issue, exacerbated by the pressures of Hollywood's competitive and demanding environment. As the industry transitioned to talkies in the late 1920s and early 1930s, Haynes found it increasingly difficult to maintain his status as a leading man. Haynes's dependency on alcohol contributed to a decline in his career opportunities. Studios, concerned about his reliability and public image, began to withdraw offers for leading roles. Despite attempts to continue acting in supporting roles and comedy films, Haynes's career never fully recovered from the impact of his addiction. In 1933, faced with dwindling prospects in Hollywood, Haynes made the difficult decision to retire from acting. He transitioned into a successful second career as an interior designer, leveraging his eye for style and creativity to become highly sought after among Hollywood's elite. Despite the challenges posed by alcoholism, William Haynes left a lasting legacy in both Hollywood and interior design. His early contributions to silent and early talkie cinema continue to be appreciated for their wit and charm, while his influence on interior design aesthetics remains influential to this day. William Haynes passed away on December 26, 1973, leaving behind a legacy that reflects both the highs of Hollywood stardom and the personal struggles that shaped his journey. His story serves as a poignant reminder of the complexities faced by stars in navigating fame, personal identity, and the pressures of addiction during Hollywood's golden age. Bela Lugosi. Born Bela Ferenc Dezoblasco on October 20, 1882, in Lugos, Kingdom of Hungary, now Lugoj, Romania, Bela Lugosi achieved international fame as an iconic actor in horror cinema, notably for his definitive portrayal of Count Dracula in the 1931 film adaptation. Lugosi's commanding presence, captivating accent, and theatrical charisma made him synonymous with the role of the vampire count, solidifying his status as a horror film legend. Despite his success and enduring legacy in the horror genre, Lugosi faced personal demons that impacted his Hollywood career. Throughout his time in the spotlight, Lugosi battled a profound addiction to alcohol, which exacerbated his struggles with mental health and impacted his professional endeavors. The pressures of maintaining a public persona as the master of macabre took a toll on Lugosi, leading him to rely on alcohol as a coping mechanism. His addiction often resulted in erratic behavior and strained relationships within the industry, hindering his ability to capitalize fully on his early success as Dracula. Despite periodic attempts to seek treatment and regain control over his addiction, including brief periods of sobriety, Lugosi's battle with alcoholism persisted throughout his life. The cyclical nature of addiction frequently interrupted his career momentum and led to missed opportunities in Hollywood. Nevertheless, Lugosi's impact on the horror genre remains undeniable. Beyond his iconic portrayal of Dracula, he continued to appear in numerous horror films and gained a dedicated fan following for his distinctive style and magnetic screen presence. His ability to evoke both fear and sympathy from audiences solidified his place in cinematic history. Bela Lugosi passed away on August 16, 1956, leaving behind a legacy marked by his contributions to horror cinema and the enduring influence of his portrayal of Count Dracula. His story serves as a reminder of the complexities faced by actors in navigating fame, personal challenges, and the enduring allure of Hollywood's darker realms. Dorothy Mcale. Born Dorothy Davenport on March 4, 1903 in Kingston upon Hull, England, Dorothy Mcale was a talented actress who made her mark during Hollywood's silent film era and early talkies. Known for her beauty, versatility, and on-screen presence, Mcale captivated audiences with her performances in a variety of roles, ranging from romantic comedies to dramas. Despite her professional successes, Mcale faced personal challenges that would impact her career and personal life. Like many in Hollywood during her time, she struggled with alcohol addiction, which became a persistent issue throughout her career. The pressures of maintaining a public image, combined with the demanding and competitive nature of the film industry, contributed to her reliance on alcohol as a coping mechanism. Mcale's addiction affected her ability to secure consistent and substantial roles in Hollywood. Despite her talent and appeal, periods of dependency led to erratic behavior and professional setbacks, hampering her career trajectory and limiting opportunities for significant roles. Throughout her life, Mcale made efforts to confront her addiction, seeking treatment and periods of sobriety. However, the cyclical nature of alcoholism posed ongoing challenges, impacting both her personal life and professional endeavors. Despite the difficulties posed by her addiction, Dorothy Mcale left behind a legacy of memorable performances and contributions to early Hollywood cinema. Her ability to captivate audiences with her charm and versatility continues to be appreciated by film enthusiasts, highlighting her enduring impact on the industry. Dorothy Mcale passed away on August 12, 1990, leaving behind a legacy marked by her talent, resilience, and the complexities of navigating fame and personal challenges during Hollywood's golden age. Her story serves as a poignant reminder of the pressures faced by actors and actresses in the early days of cinema and the personal toll of addiction on their lives and careers. Louise Brooks. Born Mary Louise Brooks on November 14, 1906, in Cherryvale, Kansas, Louise Brooks emerged as an iconic figure in silent film history, celebrated for her distinctive bob haircut and magnetic screen presence. Her breakthrough role in G.W. Pabst's Pandora's Box, 1929, solidified her status as a symbol of the liberated and modern woman of the 1920s. Despite her early success and enduring influence on cinema, Brooks faced profound personal struggles throughout her life. Among these challenges were battles with alcoholism and mental health issues, which cast shadows over her career and personal relationships. The pressures of fame and the demanding nature of the film industry contributed to Brooks's reliance on alcohol as a coping mechanism. Her addiction occasionally led to erratic behavior and strained professional opportunities, impacting her ability to capitalize fully on her early acclaim. Beyond her struggles with alcoholism, Brooks also grappled with mental health issues, including bouts of depression and anxiety. These challenges added layers of complexity to her personal life and career, influencing her relationships and artistic pursuits. Louise Brooks passed away on August 8, 1985, leaving behind a legacy marked by her artistic vision, personal struggles, and the enduring allure of her cinematic presence. Jean Eagles. Born Eugenia Eagles on June 26, 1890, in Kansas City, Missouri, Jean Eagles was a stage and film actress whose talent and intensity captivated audiences during the early 20th century. She gained acclaim for her powerful performances on Broadway and later transitioned to Hollywood, where she made a significant impact despite a tragically short film career. Eagles' breakthrough role came with her portrayal of Leslie Crosby in the 1929 film adaptation of W. Somerset Maugham's play, The Letter. Her performance as a woman embroiled in scandal and intrigue earned her widespread praise and a nomination for the Academy Award for Best Actress, cementing her reputation as a formidable talent in both stage and screen. However, behind her professional success lay personal struggles that would profoundly affect her life and career. Throughout her adult life, Eagles battled with alcoholism and substance abuse, which often overshadowed her artistic achievements. The pressures of fame, coupled with the demanding nature of her work, contributed to her reliance on alcohol and drugs as coping mechanisms. Eagles' addiction issues led to periods of erratic behavior and strained relationships, both personal and professional. Despite efforts to seek treatment and intermittent periods of sobriety, her dependency continued to impact her ability to maintain a stable career trajectory and fully capitalize on her early successes. Despite these challenges, Eagles' talent and presence on stage and screen left an indelible mark on the entertainment industry. Her ability to portray complex characters with depth and emotional authenticity resonated deeply with audiences, showcasing her ability to capture the complexities of human emotion and frailty. Tragically, Jean Eagles' life was cut short at the age of 39 on October 3, 1929, due to complications from alcoholism and drug addiction. Her untimely death marked the premature end of a career that showed immense promise and potential, leaving behind a legacy defined by her talent, intensity, and the tragic consequences of addiction in the golden age of Hollywood. The red carpets, the flashing cameras, the adoring fans all create an illusion of invincibility. But what happens when the curtains close, the lights dim, and the stars are left alone with their own human frailties? For some, this solitude becomes a breeding ground for self-destructive habits, particularly alcoholism. And for a tragic few, the bottle becomes both a confidant and a killer, leading them down a path from which there is no return. These are some of the Hollywood actors who drank themselves to death. Veronica Lake. Born Constance Frances Marie Aukelman in 1922, was the epitome of Hollywood glamour in the 1940s. With her signature peekaboo hairstyle and sultry looks, she became an overnight sensation after her role in the 1941 film Sullivan's Travels. However, her rapid ascent to stardom was matched by an equally rapid descent into alcoholism. Lake's career began to wane by the late 1940s. Her erratic behavior on set, fueled by her increasing alcohol consumption, made her difficult to work with. By 1952, her contract with Paramount Pictures was not renewed, and she found herself performing in a small nightclub in New York to make ends meet. Her struggles with alcohol also led to the collapse of her marriages. She was married and divorced 4 times. In 1973, at the age of 50, Lake died of acute hepatitis and acute kidney injury, conditions exacerbated by years of alcohol abuse. She was found dead in her apartment in Burlington, Vermont, a tragic end to a life that had once held so much promise. Judy Garland. Born Frances Ethel Gumm in 1922, Judy Garland captured hearts as the innocent Dorothy in the 1939 classic The Wizard of Oz. Her voice was magical, her presence undeniable, but behind the scenes, Garland faced immense pressure from studio executives. They controlled her diet, her appearance, and even her sleep, often giving her pills to manage her energy levels. Garland's reliance on medication soon turned into dependency, and alcohol became another means to cope with her stressful life. Her career had its ups and downs. She was lauded for her performances in films like A Star is Born in 1954, but faced professional setbacks due to her erratic behavior and frequent illnesses, often attributed to her alcoholism. Her personal life was equally tumultuous. Garland was married 5 times, and each relationship was fraught with issues, including her struggles with substance abuse. On June 22, 1969, Garland was found dead in her London apartment. The cause was an accidental overdose of barbiturates, but years of alcohol abuse had taken their toll. She was only 47 years old. Billie Holiday, the voice silenced by cirrhosis. Born Eleonora Fagan in 1915, was one of the most influential jazz singers of all time. Her emotive voice, innovative techniques, and the raw honesty of her music made her an icon. However, Holiday's life was far from easy. She faced racial discrimination, abusive relationships, and a long-standing battle with substance abuse. Holiday's career took off in the 1930s, but her personal life was marred by a series of unfortunate events, including multiple arrests for drug possession. Alcohol became a constant companion, a way to numb the pain of a life filled with hardships. By the late 1950s, her health had deteriorated significantly due to cirrhosis of the liver, a direct result of her alcoholism. On July 17, 1959, Billie Holiday passed away in a New York City hospital. The official cause of death was cirrhosis of the liver. She was just 44 years old, her life and career cut tragically short by the very substances she used to cope with her difficult life. Carole Lombard, the comedy queen's untimely demise. Known for her roles in screwball comedies like My Man Godfrey, 1936, and Nothing Sacred, 1937, she was one of the highest-paid stars in Hollywood during the late 1930s. Her marriage to Clark Gable in 1939 seemed like a fairy tale, but behind the laughter and love was a woman grappling with personal demons, including a dependency on alcohol. Her drinking was initially social, a part of the Hollywood scene, but it escalated as she faced the pressures of maintaining her career and public image. The stress intensified during World War II as she became actively involved in war efforts, even going so far as to participate in a war bond tour. It was during this tour that tragedy struck. On January 16, 1942, the plane carrying her and 21 others crashed into a mountain near Las Vegas, killing everyone on board. She was only 33 years old. The official investigation cited pilot error as the cause, but rumors swirled about Lombard's state during the flight. Witnesses claimed she had been drinking before boarding, raising questions about whether alcohol played a role in the tragedy. While these claims were never substantiated, what remains clear is that her untimely death left a void in Hollywood and in the hearts of millions of fans. Her legacy, however, endures. She's remembered not just for her roles in iconic films, but also for her vivacious spirit and her contributions to the war effort. Yet her life serves as a cautionary tale, a reminder that even those who seem to have it all can be fighting battles we know nothing about. Jean Harlo, the blonde bombshell's battle with alcohol. She burst onto the Hollywood scene in the early 1930s, quickly becoming a sensation for her platinum blonde hair and sultry screen presence. Films like Hell's Angels, 1930, and Red Dust, 1932, catapulted her to stardom, making her one of the most sought-after actresses of her time. But behind the glamorous facade was a woman struggling with the pressures of fame and a growing dependence on alcohol. The studios capitalized on her image as a sex symbol, but this objectification took a toll on her self-esteem. To cope with the stress, she turned to alcohol, a decision that would have dire consequences. Her drinking began affecting her work. She would often show up late on set, and her performances started to suffer. The studio executives, concerned about their investment, tried to intervene, but to little avail. Her health began to deteriorate rapidly. In early 1937, she was diagnosed with acute nephritis, a severe kidney condition. Despite her illness, she continued to drink, exacerbating her health problems. On June 7, 1937, she died from complications related to her condition. She was just 26 years old. The news of her death shocked Hollywood and the world. Fans mourned the loss of a star who had shone so brightly yet burned out so quickly. Her story serves as a grim reminder of the destructive power of alcohol, especially when combined with the pressures of fame. It's a tale that has been told too often in Hollywood, a place where the lights can sometimes blind us to the darker aspects of life. Barbara Payton, A Starlet's Downfall to Skid Row. She was a promising actress in the early 1950s, with roles in films like Kiss Tomorrow Goodbye, 1950, alongside James Cagney. Her beauty and talent seemed to promise a long, successful career in Hollywood. However, a series of poor choices, both personal and professional, led her down a path of self-destruction. Payton's life began to unravel when she became embroiled in a highly publicized love triangle with actors Franco Tone and Tom Neal. The scandal was fodder for the tabloids and damaged her reputation in the industry. As film roles became scarce, she turned to alcohol to numb the pain of her faltering career and tumultuous personal life. Her drinking escalated quickly, leading to arrests and public incidents that further tarnished her image. By the late 1950s, she was no longer employable as an actress and began working in a variety of low-paying jobs, including as a waitress and a cashier. The glamour and promise of her early years in Hollywood seemed like a distant memory. In 1967, at the age of 39, Payton was found dead in her apartment in San Diego. The cause of death was acute alcohol poisoning. Her life had spiraled so far out of control that she was virtually unrecognizable as the starlet who had once graced the silver screen. Her story serves as a cautionary tale about the dangers of alcoholism and the fleeting nature of fame. It's a stark reminder that the bright lights of Hollywood can cast long, dark shadows. Chris Farley, the comedian, consumed by addiction. He burst onto the comedy scene in the early 90s, becoming an instant fan favorite on Saturday Night Live with his larger-than-life personality and physical comedy. His transition to film seemed natural, with hits like Tommy Boy in 1995 and Black Sheep, 1996, cementing his status as a comedy star. But behind the laughter was a man struggling with severe addiction issues, including alcoholism. Farley's quick rise to fame came with its own set of pressures. The expectations for each new project were high, and the comedian turned to alcohol and drugs as coping mechanisms. His weight ballooned and his health deteriorated, but the partying continued. Multiple stints in rehab did little to curb his self-destructive behavior. His friends and family watched helplessly as his life spiraled out of control. On December 18, 1997, Farley was found dead in his Chicago apartment. The cause of death was a drug overdose, but years of alcohol abuse had taken a significant toll on his body. He was only 33 years old. The news of his death sent shockwaves through the entertainment industry. Fans mourned the loss of a comedic genius whose life had been cut tragically short. His story serves as a heartbreaking example of how addiction can consume even the most talented individuals, leaving behind a legacy of unfulfilled potential and sorrow. John Belushi, The Life of the Party Ends in Tragedy. A founding member of the Not Ready for Prime Time Players on Saturday Night Live, he became a cultural icon in the late 70s. His comedic style was boisterous, physical, and utterly captivating. Films like Animal House, 1978, and The Blues Brothers, 1980, showcased his talent and versatility, but they also perpetuated his hard-partying image, an image that would ultimately prove fatal. The pressure to maintain his comedic persona led him to a life of excess marked by heavy drinking and drug use. His behavior became increasingly erratic, affecting both his personal relationships and professional commitments. Despite the interventions of friends and family, he seemed unable to escape the grip of his addictions. On March 5, 1982, he was found dead in his room at the Chateau Marmont in Hollywood. The cause of death was a lethal combination of cocaine and heroin, known as a speedball, but chronic alcohol abuse had also taken a toll on his health. He was just 33 years old, the same age as his friend and fellow comedian Chris Farley when he died. Montgomery Clift, a tortured soul lost to alcohol. A four-time Academy Award nominee, he was one of the most celebrated actors of the 1950s. His performances in films like A Place in the Sun, 1951, and From Here to Eternity, 1953, were critically acclaimed, earning him a reputation as a serious and talented actor. However, his life off-screen was far less idyllic, marred by a deep-rooted struggle with alcoholism. The turning point came in 1956 when he was involved in a near-fatal car accident that left him severely disfigured. The accident and subsequent surgeries took a toll on his mental health, and he turned to alcohol to cope with the pain and anxiety. His drinking affected his ability to work, directors found him increasingly difficult to manage, and his performances suffered as a result. By the 1960s, his career had declined significantly. The roles were fewer, and his health was deteriorating rapidly. Despite attempts to get sober, he couldn't escape the clutches of his addiction. On July 23, 1966, he was found dead in his New York City apartment. The official cause of death was a heart attack, but it was widely acknowledged that years of alcohol abuse had contributed to his early demise. He was only 45 years old. Dana Plato, a child star's descent into darkness. She captured America's heart as Kimberly Drummond on the popular TV show Different Strokes, which aired from 1978 to 1986. The show's success made her a household name, but it also exposed her to the pitfalls of early fame. As she transitioned from child star to adult actress, she found it difficult to secure roles, leading to a sense of frustration and inadequacy. To cope with her waning career and mounting personal issues, she turned to alcohol and drugs. Her substance abuse led to erratic behavior, making it even more challenging to find work in an industry that had already typecast her. Legal troubles soon followed. She was arrested multiple times for offenses ranging from forgery to robbery. Her life reached a tragic climax on May 8, 1999, when she was found dead in her RV. Parked outside her fiancé's mother's home in Oklahoma, the cause of death was ruled as an overdose of prescription medication, a combination of a muscle relaxant and a painkiller. However, her long-term struggle with alcohol was a contributing factor to her downward spiral. She was 34 years old at the time of her death. Dana Plato's story is a heartbreaking example of how the pressures of fame can lead to self-destructive behavior. Her life serves as a cautionary tale, illustrating the dark side of celebrity and the devastating consequences of addiction. It's a grim reminder that the transition from child star to adult can be fraught with peril, especially when complicated by substance abuse. River Phoenix, the rising star who burned out too soon. He was a prodigious talent, earning an Academy Award nomination at the age of 18 for his role in Running on Empty, 1988. His performances in films like Stand By Me, 1986, and My Own Private Idaho, 1991, showcased his range and depth, making him one of the most promising actors of his generation. But beneath the accolades and the public adoration lay a young man grappling with the pressures of fame and a growing dependency on alcohol and drugs. His substance abuse began as a coping mechanism to deal with the stress and expectations that came with his rapid rise to stardom. Despite his young age, he was already shouldering the burden of being the primary breadwinner for his family, adding another layer of pressure. His drinking escalated, often affecting his behavior on set and causing concern among those who cared about him. On the night of October 31st, 1993, he collapsed outside the Viper Room, a nightclub in West Hollywood. He was rushed to the hospital but was pronounced dead on arrival. The cause of death was acute multiple drug intoxication, including heroin and cocaine. However, his long-term abuse of alcohol had also played a role in his tragic end. He was only 23 years old at the time of his death. His untimely passing shocked the world, leaving fans and the film industry to mourn the loss of a talent that had seemed limitless. His story serves as a stark warning about the dangers of substance abuse, particularly for those in the public eye. Margo Hemingway, the supermodel, haunted by inner demons. Granddaughter of the famed writer Ernest Hemingway, she seemed destined for greatness from the start. She made a name for herself as a supermodel in the 1970s, gracing the covers of top fashion magazines and becoming the first model to secure a $1 million contract for a cosmetics campaign. Her transition to acting, including a role in the 1976 film Lipstick, appeared to signal a new chapter in her already successful career. However, behind the camera flashes and red carpet events was a woman tormented by personal struggles, including alcoholism. Her battle with alcohol began in her early 20s, exacerbated by the pressures of her high-profile career and a family history of substance abuse. Despite her public persona as a glamorous and confident woman, she suffered from depression and low self-esteem, issues that alcohol temporarily masked but ultimately worsened. As her career waned in the 1980s, her drinking escalated. Multiple stints in rehab failed to provide a lasting solution, and her personal life became increasingly unstable. On July 1st, 1996, she was found dead in her Santa Monica apartment. The cause of death was suicide by overdose, but her chronic alcohol abuse was a contributing factor. She was 41 years old at the time of her death. Jim Morrison, the rock legend who couldn't escape his vices. As the charismatic frontman of The Doors, he became an iconic figure in rock music during the late 1960s. His poetic lyrics and magnetic stage presence captivated audiences, making him one of the most influential musicians of his time. However, his rapid ascent to fame came with a heavy price, as he grappled with alcoholism and drug addiction. His relationship with alcohol was complex and destructive. It fueled his creativity but also led to erratic behavior, both on and off the stage. Arrests for public indecency and confrontations with law enforcement became frequent, tarnishing his public image. Despite the negative impact on his career and personal life, he seemed unable or unwilling to break free from his addictions. On July 3, 1971, he was found dead in the bathtub of his Paris apartment. The official cause of death was heart failure, but no autopsy was performed due to French legal regulations. He was 27 years old, joining the infamous 27 Club, a group of musicians who died at that age. While the exact circumstances of his death remain a subject of speculation, it is widely accepted that his years of alcohol and drug abuse were contributing factors. Janice Joplin, the queen of rock and roll's battle with the bottle. She burst onto the music scene in the late 1960s, her soulful voice and electric stage presence quickly earning her the title of the Queen of Rock and Roll. Her hits like Piece of My Heart and Me and Bobby McGee are timeless classics, but her life was cut tragically short, largely due to her struggles with alcohol and drug addiction. From her early days in the San Francisco music scene, she was known for her hard-living lifestyle. Alcohol became a constant companion, often seen swigging from a bottle of Southern Comfort during performances. While her raw energy and emotional intensity were part of her allure, they also masked deep-seated insecurities and emotional pain, which she sought to numb through substance abuse. Her career was on an upward trajectory, with her second solo album, Pearl, poised to become her most successful yet. However, she would not live to see its release. On October 4, 1970, she was found dead in her hotel room in Hollywood. The cause of death was a heroin overdose, but her chronic alcohol abuse had also taken a toll on her health. She was 27 years old, another member of the ill-fated 27 Club. Heath Ledger, a brilliant actor's final act. He was a force to be reckoned with in Hollywood, earning critical acclaim for roles in films like Brokeback Mountain, 2005, and The Dark Knight, 2008. His portrayal of the Joker remains one of the most iconic performances in cinematic history. However, behind the accolades and the fame was a man struggling with the pressures of his rapidly ascending career, turning to alcohol and prescription drugs as coping mechanisms. His friends and family noticed changes in his behavior as he became more reclusive, often locking himself away to prepare for roles. The intensity with which he approached his craft began to take a physical and emotional toll. Sleep became elusive, and he relied on a cocktail of prescription medications to manage his insomnia and anxiety. On January 22, 2008, he was found dead in his New York City apartment. The cause of death was ruled as an accidental overdose of prescription medications, including sleeping pills and anti-anxiety drugs. However, his history of alcohol abuse was also a contributing factor, exacerbating the effects of the medications. He was 28 years old at the time of his death. His untimely passing left the world in shock, mourning the loss of an actor whose potential seemed limitless. His story serves as a grim reminder of the dangers of mixing alcohol with prescription medications, a lethal combination that can lead to tragic outcomes. It's a cautionary tale that underscores the need for greater awareness and understanding of the risks associated with substance abuse, even among those who seem to have it all. The stories of these talented individuals serve as a collective cautionary tale, illustrating the devastating impact that alcoholism and substance abuse can have. Each of them reached the pinnacle of success in their respective fields, captivating audiences with their artistry. Yet each also faced personal demons that ultimately led to their untimely deaths. The broader impact of these tragedies extends beyond the loss of talent. Families were shattered, fans were left heartbroken, and the entertainment industry lost some of its brightest stars. These stories also serve as a wake-up call, highlighting the urgent need for mental health support and addiction treatment, particularly within the high-pressure environment of Hollywood. It's a grim reality that substance abuse is often glamorized or overlooked, especially when it involves celebrities. Yet, as these profiles reveal, no amount of fame or fortune can shield one from the destructive power of addiction. They dazzled on the silver screen, their beauty and talent capturing the hearts of millions. But behind the fame and celebrity of Hollywood's golden age, there was a darker story, a tale of tragedy, addiction, and lives cut short. From Clara Bo, the original It Girl, to Carole Lombard, the queen of screwball comedies, these actresses had it all: fame, fortune, and adoration. Yet each faced a battle they couldn't win, a battle with the bottle that would ultimately lead to their downfall. Meet the Hollywood actors who drank themselves to death. Get ready for a journey into the hidden chapters of Hollywood history, where the spotlight shines not on their stardom, but on their struggles and the lessons they left behind. Clara Bo, the original It Girl, drowned in a sea of alcohol. She burst onto the Hollywood scene in the 1920s, becoming an instant sensation and the epitome of the roaring 20s flapper lifestyle, born on July 29, 1905. In Brooklyn, New York, she rose from a life of poverty to become one of the biggest stars of the silent film era. Her breakthrough came in 1927 with the film It, earning her the nickname the It Girl. However, the pressures of fame took a toll on her mental health. Clara struggled with severe anxiety and turned to alcohol as a coping mechanism. Her drinking escalated during the transition from silent films to talkies, a period that saw many stars of her era fade into obscurity. She was often seen intoxicated at Hollywood parties, and her behavior became increasingly erratic. In 1931, she abruptly retired from acting, citing nervous breakdowns and extreme stress. Her marriage to actor Rex Bell in 1931 seemed like a new chapter, but her alcoholism continued to plague her. Clara was hospitalized multiple times for her mental health issues, exacerbated by her heavy drinking. She spent her later years in seclusion, far removed from the Hollywood spotlight, until her death on September 27, 1965, from a heart attack. While the official cause of death was not directly attributed to alcohol, her years of heavy drinking had undoubtedly taken a toll on her health. Jean Harlo, Hollywood's original blonde, bombshell, succumbs to illness and addiction. She was the original blonde bombshell, captivating audiences with her platinum blonde hair and sultry screen presence. Born Harlan Harlo Carpenter on March 3, 1911 in Kansas City, Missouri, she moved to Hollywood at a young age and quickly rose to stardom. Her breakthrough role came in Howard Hughes' Hell's Angels in 1930, and she became one of the biggest box office draws of the 1930s. Life in the fast lane came with its own set of challenges. The pressures of fame, coupled with a tumultuous personal life, led her to seek solace in alcohol. Her drinking habits were well known within Hollywood circles, often overshadowing her professional achievements. She was married 3 times, each relationship fraught with issues exacerbated by her alcoholism. In 1937, she began experiencing health issues, including extreme fatigue and nausea. Despite her symptoms, she continued to work on the film Saratoga. Tragically, her health rapidly deteriorated, and she was hospitalized for kidney failure. On June 7, 1937, she passed away at the young age of 26. The official cause of death was listed as cerebral edema, a complication of kidney failure. While alcohol was not cited as the direct cause, her years of heavy drinking had undoubtedly contributed to her poor health. Susan Hayward, a fiery talent engulfed by personal demons. A powerhouse on screen, she was known for her fiery red hair and equally fiery performances. Born Edith Mariner on June 30, 1917, in Brooklyn, New York, she moved to Hollywood and changed her name to Susan Hayward. Her career took off in the 1940s, earning her 5 Academy Award nominations and a win for I Want to Live in 1958. Despite her professional success, her personal life was fraught with challenges. She was married twice, first to actor Jess Barker, with whom she had a tumultuous relationship that ended in a bitter divorce in 1954. Her second marriage to Floyd Eaton Chalkley was happier but short-lived due to his sudden death in 1966. These personal setbacks led her to seek comfort in alcohol, a habit that escalated over the years. In the late 1960s, she began experiencing health issues, including frequent headaches and seizures. Doctors diagnosed her with brain cancer in 1972, a condition that many speculate could have been exacerbated by her years of heavy drinking and smoking. She underwent treatment, including chemotherapy and radiation, but her health continued to decline. On March 14, 1975, she passed away at her home in Beverly Hills. While alcohol was not the direct cause of her death, it had certainly played a role in her deteriorating health. Tula Bankhead, the eccentric star whose light dimmed too soon. A woman of many talents and even more controversies, she was as famous for her off-screen antics as she was for her on-screen performances. Born on January 31, 1902 in Huntsville, Alabama, she moved to New York City to pursue a career in acting. Her Broadway debut came in 1918, but it was her performance in The Little Foxes in 1939 that solidified her reputation as a formidable actress. Her lifestyle was as extravagant as her personality. Known for her wit, her parties were legendary, often lasting until the early hours of the morning. But this lifestyle came at a cost. She was a heavy smoker and drinker, habits that were exacerbated by her struggles with depression and various health issues. Her drinking became so problematic that it began to interfere with her work. She often showed up on set intoxicated, leading to tensions with directors and co-stars. In the 1950s, her health began to decline rapidly. She suffered from multiple bouts of pneumonia and was diagnosed with emphysema and malnutrition, conditions worsened by her chronic alcoholism. Despite numerous hospitalizations, she continued to drink heavily until her death on December 12, 1968, from double pneumonia complicated by emphysema. While alcohol was not listed as the direct cause of her death, it was a contributing factor to her declining health and ultimately her demise. Greta Garbo, the enigmatic beauty haunted by loneliness. A symbol of mystery and allure, her face graced the screens of both silent films and talkies, leaving an indelible mark on Hollywood history. Born Greta Lovisa Gustafsson on September 18, 1905, in Stockholm, Sweden, she moved to the United States in the early 1920s and quickly rose to stardom. Her roles in films like Anna Karenina, 1935, and Camille at 1936 earned her critical acclaim and solidified her status as one of the greatest actresses of her time. Despite her on-screen charisma, she was intensely private and struggled with the pressures of fame. This led her to seek solace in alcohol, a habit that became more pronounced as she aged. Her drinking was a well-guarded secret, but those close to her knew that it was a coping mechanism for her increasing reclusiveness and bouts of depression. In 1941, at the age of 36, she retired from acting and led an increasingly secluded life. Her health began to deteriorate in the 1980s, exacerbated by years of heavy drinking. She suffered from kidney disease and other ailments, leading to her hospitalization on several occasions. On April 15, 1990, she passed away from pneumonia and renal failure. While alcohol was not cited as the direct cause of her death, her years of heavy drinking had undoubtedly contributed to her declining health. Dorothy Dandridge, the trailblazer whose flame burned out too soon. A groundbreaking figure in Hollywood, she broke racial barriers and became the first African-American actress to be nominated for an Academy Award for Best Actress for her role in Carmen Jones, 1954. Born on November 9, 1922, in Cleveland, Ohio, she started her career as a nightclub singer before transitioning to film. Her beauty and talent quickly caught the attention of Hollywood producers, but her roles were often limited due to the racial prejudices of the time. The limitations imposed on her career took a toll on her mental well-being. She faced financial difficulties and was often typecast in roles that did not do justice to her talent. To cope with the stress and disappointment, she turned to alcohol, a habit that spiraled into addiction. Her drinking affected her professional relationships, leading to fewer job offers and increasing financial strain. Her personal life was equally tumultuous. She was married twice, first to dancer Harold Nicholas and then to Jack Dennison, both marriages ending in divorce and leaving her emotionally and financially drained. On September 8, 1965, she was found dead in her West Hollywood apartment. The cause of death was ruled as an accidental overdose of antidepressants, but her chronic alcoholism was a contributing factor to her untimely demise at the age of 42. Eugenia Eagles, a meteoric rise cut short by addiction. A star whose light shone brightly but briefly, she was one of the most promising talents of the late 1920s. Born Eugenia Eagles on June 26, 1890, in Kansas City, Missouri, she began her career in vaudeville before transitioning to Broadway. Her performance in the play Rain in 1922 catapulted her to stardom, and she soon made her way to Hollywood. Her success, however, came with its own set of challenges. The pressure to maintain her newfound fame and the grueling work schedule led her to seek relief in alcohol and drugs. Her addiction became so severe that it started affecting her work. She was often late to set and sometimes unable to perform. Despite her obvious talent, her unreliability made her a risky investment for producers. Her personal life was equally chaotic. She was married twice, first to actor Edward Harris Coy and then to Morris Dubinsky, both relationships marred by her increasing dependency on alcohol and narcotics. Her health began to deteriorate rapidly, and she was frequently hospitalized for what was then termed nervous disorders, a euphemism for her addiction issues. On October 3, 1929, she died suddenly at the age of 39. The official cause of death was listed as alcoholic psychosis, a term used to describe severe mental conditions arising from chronic alcohol abuse. Her death served as a cautionary tale for the entertainment industry, highlighting the dangers of addiction amidst the glamour and glitz of Hollywood fame. Thelma Todd, the comedy queen's mysterious end. Known as the Ice Cream Blonde, she was a beloved comedic actress of the early 1930s. Born on July 29, 1906, in Lawrence, Massachusetts, she quickly rose to fame with her roles in Hal Roach comedies, often starring alongside comedy legends like Laurel and Hardy. Her beauty and comedic timing made her a popular figure in Hollywood, but behind the laughter lay a life filled with challenges. The constant pressure to maintain her image and the demands of her career led her to seek comfort in alcohol. Her drinking was an open secret in Hollywood, often discussed in hushed tones but rarely addressed publicly. She was also involved in a series of tumultuous relationships, most notably with film director Roland West, which added to her emotional stress. On the morning of December 16, 1935, she was found dead in her car inside the garage of her lover, Roland West. The official cause of death was carbon monoxide poisoning, but the circumstances surrounding her death remain a subject of speculation and controversy to this day. Some believe it was a suicide, while others suspect foul play, possibly related to her involvement with organized crime figures who frequented her restaurant, Thelma Todd's Sidewalk Cafe. While alcohol was not directly implicated in her death, her years of heavy drinking had taken a toll on her emotional and physical well-being, contributing to the cloud of mystery that still hangs over her untimely demise at the age of 29. Lupe Valdez, the Mexican Spitfire's tragic finale. Dubbed the Mexican Spitfire for her vivacious screen presence and fiery personality, she was a force to be reckoned with in Hollywood during the 1930s. Born Maria Guadalupe Villalobos Vélez on July 18, 1908, in San Luis Potosi, Mexico, she moved to the United States in her late teens to pursue a career in entertainment. Her breakthrough came with the film The Gaucho in 1927, and she quickly became a household name. Her on-screen persona was larger than life, but off-screen, she struggled with the emotional toll of fame. Known for her tempestuous relationships, including a highly publicized marriage to actor Johnny Weissmuller, her personal life was a constant source of tabloid fodder. To cope with the stress, she turned to alcohol, a habit that spiraled into addiction over the years. Her career began to wane in the late 1930s, and she found it increasingly difficult to secure roles that matched her talent. This professional decline, coupled with her failed relationships, led her into a deep depression. On December 13th, 1944, she was found dead in her Beverly Hills home. The official cause of death was ruled as suicide by an overdose of Seconal, a barbiturate. While alcohol was not the direct cause, her chronic drinking had exacerbated her emotional instability, leading to her tragic end at the age of 36. Frances Farmer, the rebel, torn apart by Hollywood's machinery. A woman of immense talent and beauty, she was also one of Hollywood's most misunderstood figures. Born on September 19, 1913, in Seattle, Washington, she gained early fame for her controversial high school essay God Dies, which caught the attention of local newspapers. Her acting career took off with a theater scholarship, and she eventually made her way to Hollywood, starring in films like Come and Get It, 1936, and Son of Fury, 1942. Her outspoken nature and refusal to conform to Hollywood norms made her a target for the studio system. She was often at odds with producers and directors, leading to a decline in the quality of roles offered to her. To cope with the stress and disappointment, she turned to alcohol, which soon became a full-blown addiction. Her life took a darker turn in the 1940s, when she was arrested multiple times for drunk driving and assault. She was eventually committed to a mental institution where she underwent electroconvulsive therapy, a treatment that had devastating effects on her mental health. Despite attempts to revive her career in the 1950s, her health and spirit were broken, largely due to her years of alcohol abuse and the brutal treatment she received while institutionalized. On August 1, 1970, she died of esophageal cancer, a condition often linked to chronic alcohol abuse. While her death was not directly caused by alcohol, her years of drinking had undoubtedly contributed to her tragic life trajectory and early death at the age of 56. Judy Holiday, the comedic genius, silenced by illness. Best known for her Academy Award-winning role in Born Yesterday, 1950, she was a comedic actress whose intelligence and wit shone through every performance. Born Judith Tuvim on June 21, 1921, in New York City, she began her career in the theater before transitioning to film. Her roles often portrayed her as a dumb blonde, but those who knew her were aware of her sharp intellect and quick wit. Despite her on-screen success, she faced numerous challenges in her personal life. The pressures of fame and the scrutiny of the Hollywood blacklist during the McCarthy era took a toll on her emotional well-being. To cope, she turned to alcohol, a habit that gradually escalated into dependency. Her drinking was a poorly kept secret in Hollywood circles and began to affect her ability to secure quality roles. In the early 1960s, her health began to deteriorate. She was diagnosed with breast cancer but continued to work despite her illness. Her condition worsened, exacerbated by her years of heavy drinking, which had a detrimental effect on her overall health. On June 7, 1965, she passed away at the age of 43. While cancer was the official cause of her death, her chronic alcohol abuse had undoubtedly weakened her body, making it difficult for her to fight the disease. Vivien Lee, the Southern belle who couldn't escape her demons. Immortalized for her role as Scarlett O'Hara in Gone with the Wind, 1939, she was the epitome of grace and beauty on screen. Born Vivian Mary Hartley on November 5, 1913, in Darjeeling, British India, She moved to England at a young age and pursued a career in acting. Her performance in Gone with the Wind earned her an Academy Award for Best Actress, and she later won another for A Streetcar Named Desire, 1951. Despite her professional triumphs, her personal life was fraught with difficulties. She suffered from bipolar disorder, a condition that was poorly understood at the time. The mood swings and depressive episodes associated with the disorder made her increasingly reliant on alcohol as a coping mechanism. Her drinking escalated over the years, affecting both her career and her marriage to actor Laurence Olivier. Her health began to decline in the late 1950s, exacerbated by her chronic tuberculosis, a condition she had battled since her youth. Her weakened immune system, further compromised by her alcohol abuse, made it difficult for her to recover. On July 8, 1967, she was found dead in her London apartment. The official cause of death was tuberculosis, but her years of alcohol abuse had undoubtedly contributed to her weakened state, leading to her untimely death at the age of 53. The stories of these actors and actresses are not just tales of personal tragedy, but also cautionary lessons about the darker aspects of Hollywood fame, the pressures of maintaining a public image, the grueling work schedules, and the scrutiny of the media can take a toll on even the most resilient individuals. For many, the escape they found in alcohol or substances led to a downward spiral that had irreversible consequences on their careers and lives. Imagine a Hollywood where the stars you know and love didn't just grace the silver screen, but also battled demons so dark they could rival any movie villain. What if I told you that some of the most iconic faces in film history had lives that were more tragic than the roles they played? Buckle up, because we're diving deep into the untold stories of Golden Age Hollywood actors and actresses who drank themselves to death, cut short by their own vices. You won't believe how their dazzling careers turned into real-life horror stories. Jean Seberg, The American in Paris, Lost but Never Forgotten. A symbol of the French New Wave cinema, she was an American actress who found fame across the Atlantic. Born on November 13, 1938, in Marshalltown, Iowa, she was catapulted to international stardom with her role in Jean-Luc Godard's Breathless, 1960. Her pixie haircut and gamine beauty became iconic, influencing fashion and film for years to come. However, her life was far from the glamour it seemed. She became involved in political activism, supporting civil rights and anti-war movements, which drew the attention of the FBI. The agency's surveillance and harassment took a severe emotional toll on her, leading her to seek solace in alcohol. Her drinking became a way to cope with the constant stress and anxiety, affecting her career and personal relationships. In the late 1960s and early 1970s, she faced a series of personal tragedies, including a stillbirth, which was widely publicized due to the FBI's smear campaign against her. Her mental health deteriorated, and her reliance on alcohol became more pronounced. On September 8, 1979, she was found dead in her car in Paris. But many believe that her years of alcohol abuse and the emotional trauma inflicted by the FBI's harassment played a significant role in her tragic end at the age of 40. Carol Landis, the blonde bombshell's descent into darkness. A stunning beauty with a vivacious personality, she was dubbed the Ping Girl and the Chest of the Future for her voluptuous figure. Born Frances Lillian Mary Ridsty on January 1, 1919, in Fairchild, Wisconsin, she changed her name to Carol Landis to reinvent herself for Hollywood. She gained fame for her role in 1 Million BC, 1940, where her scantily clad appearance made her an instant sex symbol. Despite her on-screen allure, her personal life was marred by failed marriages and tumultuous love affairs, including a highly publicized relationship with actor Rex Harrison. The constant media attention and the pressure to maintain her image led her to seek escape in alcohol. Her drinking escalated over time, affecting her ability to land quality roles and further straining her personal relationships. By the late 1940s, her career had stalled, and she found herself relegated to B-movies. Her emotional state worsened, exacerbated by her heavy drinking and a series of personal setbacks, including her failing relationship with Harrison. On July 5, 1948, she was found dead in her home in Beverly Hills. While alcohol was not the direct cause, her years of alcohol abuse had contributed to her emotional instability, culminating in her tragic death at the age of 29. Dorothy Dandridge, the barrier-breaking beauty with a broken heart. A groundbreaking African-American actress and singer, she was the first black woman to be nominated for an Academy Award for Best Actress for her role in Carmen Jones, 1954. Born on November 9, 1922, in Cleveland, Ohio, she began her career as a child performer and later transitioned to film, breaking racial barriers in Hollywood. Her success, however, came at a high emotional cost. She faced systemic racism and was often typecast in stereotypical roles, limiting her career opportunities. Her personal life was equally challenging, marked by a troubled marriage to restaurateur Jack Dennison and the birth of a daughter with special needs. The weight of these struggles led her to seek comfort in alcohol, which soon turned into a dependency. By the early 1960s, her career had declined, and she was plagued by financial difficulties. Her drinking worsened, affecting her physical health and emotional well-being. On September 8, 1965, she was found dead in her West Hollywood apartment. The official cause of death was a drug overdose, but her chronic alcohol abuse had undoubtedly played a role in her deteriorating health and tragic demise at the age of 42. Thelma Todd, the ice cream blonde who melted too soon. Nicknamed the Ice Cream Blonde for her platinum locks and creamy complexion, she was a comedic actress who lit up the screens in the late 1920s and early 1930s. Born on July 29, 1906, in Lawrence, Massachusetts, she gained fame for her roles in Hal Roach comedies, often starring alongside comedy legends like Laurel and Hardy. Her life, however, was far from comedic. She faced immense pressure to maintain her image as a glamorous starlet, which led her to seek solace in alcohol. Her drinking became a coping mechanism for the stress and loneliness that came with fame, affecting her personal relationships and career choices. In December 1935, her life took a tragic turn. She was found dead in her car, parked inside the garage of her lover Roland West's ex-wife, Jewel Carmen. The official cause of death was carbon monoxide poisoning. However, rumors swirled about possible foul play, fueled by her tumultuous love life and alleged ties to organized crime. While her death remains shrouded in mystery, her years of alcohol abuse had undoubtedly taken a toll on her emotional and physical health, making her more vulnerable to the tragic circumstances that led to her untimely death at the age of 29. Lupe Valdez, the Mexican Spitfire's final flame. Known as the Mexican Spitfire, she was a force of nature both on and off the screen. Born Maria Guadalupe Villalobos Valdez on July 18, 1908, in San Luis Potosi, Mexico, she moved to the United States to pursue a career in entertainment. She quickly gained fame for her roles in films like The Gaucho, 1927, and Wolf Song, 1929, often portraying fiery and passionate characters. Her personal life was equally tempestuous, marked by high-profile relationships and marriages, including a tumultuous union with actor Johnny Weissmuller. The constant media scrutiny and the pressure to maintain her vivacious public persona led her to alcohol as a coping mechanism. Her drinking escalated over the years, affecting her career and contributing to the breakdown of her relationships. By the early 1940s, her career had waned, and she found herself grappling with personal issues, including an unplanned pregnancy from a relationship with actor Harold Ramond. On December 13, 1944, she was found dead in her Beverly Hills home. Her chronic alcohol abuse had undoubtedly played a role in her emotional turmoil, leading to her tragic end at the age of 36. Frances Farmer, the rebel soul crushed by the system. A talented actress with a rebellious streak, she was known for her beauty and intelligence, but became infamous for her clashes with studio executives and law enforcement. Born on September 19, 1913, in Seattle, Washington, she gained early fame for her role in Come and Get It, 1936, which showcased her natural talent and screen presence. However, Her outspoken nature and refusal to conform to Hollywood norms made her a target for negative press and studio backlash. Her career took a nosedive, and she found solace in alcohol, which soon turned into a full-blown addiction. Her drinking led to erratic behavior, arrests, and eventually involuntary commitment to psychiatric institutions where she underwent electroconvulsive therapy. By the 1950s, her career was virtually over, and she lived in obscurity, working various jobs to make ends meet. Her health deteriorated rapidly, exacerbated by years of alcohol abuse and the physical and emotional toll of her institutionalizations. On August 1, 1970, she died of esophageal cancer in Indianapolis, Indiana. While the official cause of death was cancer, her years of alcohol abuse had significantly contributed to her declining health and tragic end at the age of 56. Peg Entwistle, the Broadway starlet who jumped off the Hollywood sign. A promising actress with roots in Broadway, she became famous not for her roles in films or plays, but for her tragic end. Born Millicent Lillian Entwistle on February 5, 1908, in Port Talbot, Wales, she moved to New York City to pursue a career in acting. She found moderate success on Broadway, but decided to try her luck in Hollywood, hoping for a breakthrough. Her Hollywood dream, however, quickly turned into a nightmare. She struggled to find meaningful roles and faced constant rejection, which took a toll on her mental health. The stress and disappointment led her to alcohol, which she used to numb her emotional pain. In September 1932, her life came to a tragic end. She climbed the Hollywoodland sign, then an advertisement for a housing development, and jumped off the letter H. She was only 24 years old. Her death note read, "I am afraid, I am a coward, I am sorry for everything." While her death was attributed to her mental health struggles, her alcohol abuse was a significant factor that exacerbated her emotional instability. Her story remains one of the most haunting tales of Hollywood, a stark reminder of the dark side of fame and the devastating impact it can have on young lives. Virginia Rappe, the silent film actress whose death shook Hollywood. A rising star in the silent film era, she was poised for greatness but met an untimely and controversial end. Born on July 7, 1895 in Chicago, Illinois, she moved to San Francisco as a young woman to pursue a career in modeling and acting. Her beauty and talent caught the eye of filmmakers, and she appeared in a series of short films, gradually making her way to Hollywood. Her life took a dark turn in 1921 during a party hosted by famous comedian Roscoe "Fatty" Arbuckle. She fell seriously ill at the event and died a few days later on September 9, 1921. Her death led to one of the first major Hollywood scandals, with Arbuckle accused of causing her death through sexual assault. Although he was eventually acquitted, the incident cast a long shadow over both their careers. While the exact circumstances of her death remain a subject of debate, it's widely acknowledged that her health was compromised by chronic cystitis, exacerbated by alcohol abuse. She was known to consume alcohol to cope with the pain from her condition, but the substance likely worsened her health and contributed to her tragic demise at the age of 26. Her story serves as a grim example of how the pressures of Hollywood fame, coupled with personal vulnerabilities, can lead to tragic outcomes, forever altering the course of promising young lives. Wallace Reid, the matinee idol consumed by addiction. A heartthrob of the silent film era, he was the epitome of the all-American hero on screen. Born on April 15, 1891 in St. Louis, Missouri, he quickly rose to stardom with his good looks and natural acting ability, starring in It's Like the Birth of a Nation at 1915 and The Roaring Road in 1919. Off-screen, however, he faced a battle that he couldn't win. During the filming of The Valley of the Giants in 1919, he was injured in a train wreck and prescribed morphine for his pain. The prescription turned into an addiction, one that he supplemented with alcohol as his tolerance for morphine grew. Despite his substance abuse, he continued to work at a frenetic pace, further damaging his already fragile health. His addiction became public knowledge, and the studio tried to help him by sending him to a sanitarium. However, the damage was done. His health deteriorated rapidly, and he was plagued by bouts of pneumonia and influenza, exacerbated by his weakened immune system due to years of substance abuse. On January 18, 1923, he died in a sanitarium in Pasadena, California, at the age of 31. The official cause of death was listed as influenza, but it was clear that his years of alcohol and morphine abuse had taken their toll, cutting short a promising career and life. John Gilbert, the silent film star, silenced by his demons. A leading man of the silent film era, he was often compared to greats like Rudolph Valentino for his romantic roles. Born John Cecil Pringle on July 10, 1897, in Logan, Utah, he gained fame for his collaborations with actress Greta Garbo in films like Flesh and the Devil, 1926, and Love, 1927. However, the advent of talkies proved to be his downfall. His voice didn't transition well to the new medium, and his career began to decline. This professional setback led him to seek solace in alcohol, which soon turned into a full-blown addiction. His drinking affected his ability to work, leading to fewer roles and a tarnished reputation. His personal life was equally tumultuous. He had a series of failed marriages and relationships, adding to his emotional turmoil. His health began to deteriorate due to his excessive drinking, leading to severe liver problems and other complications. On January 9, 1936, he died from a heart attack, exacerbated by his years of alcohol abuse. He was only 38 years old. His death marked the end of a career that had once been full of promise but was ultimately undone by the pressures of fame and his struggles with addiction. Bela Lugosi, the man behind Dracula's cape, best known for his iconic role as Count Dracula in the 1931 film Dracula, he was a Hungarian-American actor who became a legend in horror cinema. Born Bela Ferenc Dezo Blasco on October 20, 1882. In Lugos, Hungary, he immigrated to the United States in 1920 and quickly found work in Hollywood. His portrayal of Dracula made him an instant star, but it also typecast him in horror roles, limiting his career opportunities. As the years passed, the roles became less frequent and less prestigious. This decline in his career led him to seek comfort in morphine and methadone, substances he initially used to treat chronic sciatica. His addiction worsened over time, affecting both his professional and personal life. Multiple attempts at rehabilitation failed, and his health deteriorated rapidly. He was virtually forgotten by the industry that once celebrated him, and he spent his final years in near obscurity. On August 16, 1956, he passed away in his Los Angeles apartment from a heart attack, but his years of substance abuse had undoubtedly contributed to his poor health. He was 73 years old. His life serves as a cautionary tale of the pitfalls of typecasting and the devastating effects of addiction, even for those who once stood at the pinnacle of Hollywood fame. Lou Tellegen, the dashing actor whose flame burned out too soon. A Dutch actor and director, he was once considered one of the most handsome men in Hollywood. Born on November 26, 1881 in Sint-Edenrode, Netherlands, he moved to the United States and quickly became a sensation, starring in films like The Explorer, 1915, and The Victoria Cross, 1916. His good looks and charm couldn't protect him from the pitfalls of fame. The pressure to maintain his image and the competition for roles in a rapidly changing industry led him to seek comfort in alcohol. His drinking escalated into a serious problem, affecting both his career and personal life. His marriage to opera singer Geraldine Farrar ended in divorce, adding another layer of emotional distress. His career began to wane and roles became increasingly scarce. Financial difficulties followed, plunging him into a state of despair, a tragic end to a life that had once been filled with promise. He was 52 years old. His death shocked Hollywood and his fans, serving as a grim reminder of the destructive power of fame and addiction. Olive Thomas, the Ziegfeld Girl. A stunning beauty and one of the original Ziegfeld Foley's girls, she was on the cusp of major stardom. Born on October 20th, 1894 in Charleroi, Pennsylvania, she moved to New York City to pursue a career in modeling and acting. Her beauty quickly caught the eye of Florenz Ziegfeld, and she became one of his famed Ziegfeld girls. Her transition to films was seamless, and she starred in several silent films like The Flapper, 1920, and Everybody's Sweetheart, 1920. However, the pressures of her rapid rise to fame began to weigh on her. She married actor Jack Pickford, the younger brother of silent film star Mary Pickford, but the marriage was fraught with difficulties, including both of them engaging in excessive drinking. In a tragic turn of events, while on a second honeymoon in Paris, she ingested mercury bichloride, a toxic substance. The circumstances remain unclear, but it's widely believed to have been an accident, possibly fueled by her intoxicated state. She died on September 10, 1920, at the age of 25, just as her career was taking off. Her untimely death shocked Hollywood and her fans, and her story serves as a cautionary tale about the perils of fame and the destructive potential of substance abuse. As the spotlight dims on these tragic tales, you might be left wondering, what's the real cost of fame? These stories are not just footnotes in Hollywood history, they're cautionary tales that echo through time, reminding us that stardom has its dark side. In a dimly lit bar, the clinking of glasses echoes as a bartender pours another round of drinks. The patrons? Some of Hollywood's most iconic stars, their faces etched in cinematic history. But behind the glamour and the glitz, a darker tale unfolds, one where the intoxicating allure of fame comes with a heavy pour of alcohol. This is not just a story of Hollywood's golden age. It's an exploration into the lives of legendary actors and actresses who were always, it seems, one drink away from oblivion. Names that have graced the silver screen, but also frequented the hidden bars and private clubs, drowning their sorrows or celebrating their victories with a bottle in hand. Who were these stars? And how did alcohol become their constant companion? Prepare to journey through the intoxicating highs and devastating lows of classic Hollywood's love affair with liquor. The golden age of Hollywood, spanning from the late 1920s to the early 1960s, was a time of unprecedented glamour and cinematic innovation. It was an era that gave us immortal classics from Gone with the Wind to Casablanca and stars whose brilliance still lights up the screen. But as the film reels rolled, so did the bottles. Whiskey, gin, champagne, you name it. Alcohol was more than a prop. It was a character in its own right, a liquid courage that fueled the industry both on and off the screen. In a society recovering from the Prohibition era, Hollywood became a sanctuary where the drinks flowed freely. The end of Prohibition in 1933 coincided with the rise of talkies and color films, and as Hollywood found its voice, it often found it slurred with alcohol. Movie premieres were extravagant affairs, not just showcasing the latest cinematic masterpiece, but also the finest cocktails of the time. After parties were legendary, not for who you could see, but for what you could drink. Yet this wasn't merely a reflection of the times. It was a mirror to the souls of those who inhabited this glittering world. The social norms of the era didn't just permit drinking, they celebrated it. A martini wasn't just a drink, it was an accessory, as crucial to a star's image as their tailored suits or designer gowns. But as the flashbulbs popped and the fans screamed, few paused to consider the toll this lifestyle took on the very stars they adored. In the labyrinthine corridors of Hollywood's major studios, a different kind of drama unfolded, one far removed from the scripted lines and staged scenes. This was the era of the star system, a factory-like process where actors and actresses were molded, packaged, and sold as products. They were the crown jewels of their respective studios, and the pressure to maintain this luster was immense. The studios controlled not just what the public saw on screen, but also what they believed off-screen. Publicists crafted personas, newspapers ran studio-approved stories, and scandals were meticulously buried. But beneath this veneer of perfection lay a complex web of insecurities, expectations, and above all, the relentless pressure to perform. It was in this crucible that many stars found solace in the bottom of a glass. Alcohol became the elixir that soothed the nerves before a big premiere, the tonic that eased the stress of a grueling shooting schedule, and the companion that numbed the loneliness of fame. It was both the cause and the cure, a paradoxical potion that offered temporary relief from the very problems it often exacerbated. For some, a sip before a take turned into a gulp, then a glass, and eventually a bottle. What started as a coping mechanism morphed into a crippling dependency. The studios, ever vigilant about their investments, often turned a blind eye, enabling the behavior until it became too scandalous to ignore. By then, for many stars, the damage was irreversible. In the annals of Hollywood history, certain names stand out not just for their talent and charisma, but for their tumultuous relationship with alcohol. These are stars whose brilliance on screen was matched only by their struggles off it. Humphrey Bogart, a name synonymous with classic Hollywood, was a man of many contradictions. He was the epitome of cool, calm, and collected on screen, but his off-screen life was anything but. Born into an affluent family in New York City, Bogart had a privileged upbringing that included the best schools and social circles, yet he was a rebel at heart, a trait that would follow him throughout his life and career. Bogart's entry into Hollywood was not meteoric. He paid his dues in minor roles, often playing the villain. It wasn't until Casablanca that he became a household name. With fame came the trappings of stardom, including access to Hollywood's most exclusive parties and clubs, where alcohol flowed as freely as the conversations. Bogart was no stranger to drinking. He had been introduced to it at a young age, but the pressures of stardom intensified his relationship with alcohol. In a career that spanned over 3 decades, Bogart was nominated for 3 Academy Awards, winning 1 for The African Queen. But these accolades came at a cost. The roles he played were often intense, requiring emotional depth and vulnerability. To cope with the stress, Bogart turned to scotch, his drink of choice. It became a ritual, a way to unwind after long shooting days and even longer nights of socializing. His first 2 marriages, to actresses Helen Menken and Mary Phillips, ended in divorce, and his drinking was cited as a contributing factor. His 3rd marriage, to Mayo Method, was a turbulent affair marked by heavy drinking and public fights. They were known as the Battling Bogarts, a moniker that captured the volatility of their relationship. It was only when he met Lauren Bacall, his co-star in To Have and Have Not, that he found some semblance of stability. Yet even this relationship couldn't curb his drinking habits. Bacall often spoke about Bogart's 2 personas, the charming, loving husband and the belligerent, often morose drunk. As the years passed, the toll of constant drinking began to show. Bogart developed esophageal cancer, a condition exacerbated by his smoking and drinking. Despite surgery and treatment, he passed away in 1957, leaving behind a legacy that was as celebrated as it was cautionary. His death was a wake-up call for Hollywood, shining a spotlight on the perils of alcoholism that plagued the industry. Yet, for Bogart himself, it was a tragic end to a life that had oscillated between cinematic brilliance and personal turmoil. Judy Garland, born Frances Ethel Gumm, was a star who captured the hearts of millions with her angelic voice and innocent charm. Her journey to stardom began at a tender age, performing alongside her sisters in a vaudeville act managed by her ambitious mother, but it was her role as Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz that catapulted her into the stratosphere of fame. With that fame, however, came a set of challenges that would follow her throughout her life. Garland's introduction to alcohol and pills was not of her own doing. It was orchestrated by studio executives at MGM, who sought to control her weight and keep her working long hours. The studio's demands were relentless, and the young star was given amphetamines to stay awake and barbiturates to help her sleep, creating a vicious cycle of dependency that she struggled to break free from. Her talent was undeniable, earning her critical acclaim and a string of successful films. Yet the more she achieved professionally, the more her personal life unraveled. Her first marriage to composer David Rose ended in divorce, and her subsequent marriages were equally fraught. Her relationship with Vincente Minnelli, her second husband and the father of her daughter Lisa, was overshadowed by her increasing reliance on alcohol and prescription drugs. Garland's career had its ups and downs, marked by comebacks and setbacks. Her concert performances were often unpredictable. On a good night, she could bring the audience to their feet, but on a bad night, she could barely make it through a set. Her erratic behavior was a clear sign of her struggles, yet those around her, including her managers and agents, seemed more interested in exploiting her talent than in helping her find the help she so desperately needed. Multiple stints in rehab did little to curb her addictions. Financial difficulties added to her woes, forcing her to take up roles and concert gigs that she was physically and emotionally unfit for. In 1969, Garland was found dead in her London apartment, the victim of an accidental overdose. She was just 47 years old. Judy Garland's life is a poignant tale of immense talent overshadowed by immense struggle. Her legacy is a bittersweet symphony of magical on-screen moments and painful off-screen realities. She remains an icon, her voice immortalized in the annals of Hollywood history, but her life serves as a cautionary tale of the destructive power of fame and the pitfalls of an industry that often takes more than it gives. Richard Burton, born Richard Walter Jenkins Jr., was a force of nature both on and off the stage and screen. Hailing from a working-class Welsh family, Burton's rise to stardom was nothing short of meteoric. His talent for acting was discovered early, and scholarships and mentors helped him hone his craft. But it was his voice, deep and resonant, that became his signature, captivating audiences, whether he was performing Shakespeare or starring in a Hollywood blockbuster.
Professed wish to see the Imperial War Museum destroyed.
Burton's love for literature and poetry was well known, but so was his love for alcohol. His affinity for drinking began in his early years, perhaps a coping mechanism for the hardships he faced growing up in a coal mining town during the Depression era. However, as his star rose, so did his consumption of alcohol. Burton was a man of extremes, and his drinking was no exception. He was known to consume bottles of vodka a day, a habit that he himself described as nihilistic. His first marriage to Sybil Williams was strained due to his drinking and alleged affairs, but it was his relationship with Elizabeth Taylor that became the focal point of his life and career. Their love was the stuff of legends, passionate and tumultuous, marked by 2 marriages and 2 divorces. Alcohol played a significant role in their relationship, fueling both passionate love and heated arguments. Burton's career was a roller coaster of highs and lows. He was nominated for 7 Academy Awards but never won, a fact that many attribute to his unpredictable behavior and reputation for being difficult to work with. His roles in films like Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf and Equus were critically acclaimed, but his performances were often overshadowed by his off-screen antics and publicized drinking. As the years went by, the toll of alcohol began to manifest in his health. He suffered from multiple ailments, including cirrhosis of the liver and kidney issues. Despite attempts to quit drinking, including periods of sobriety, he could never fully escape its grip. Burton passed away in 1984 from a cerebral hemorrhage, a tragic end to a life filled with complexity and contradiction. Richard Burton's story is one of immense talent and self-destructive behavior, a man who could captivate audiences with a single line yet couldn't escape the demons that haunted him. His life serves as a cautionary tale, a stark reminder of the destructive power of addiction, even in the face of incredible talent and success. Ava Gardner, with her striking beauty and undeniable screen presence, was one of Hollywood's leading actresses during the 1950s. Born in a small farming community in North Carolina, Gardner's journey to stardom was a classic tale of being discovered by chance. A visit to her sister in New York led to a meeting with a talent scout, and before she knew it, she was signed to a contract with MGM. Gardner's early roles were minor, but her beauty was so captivating that it was only a matter of time before she became a leading lady. Films like The Killers and Mogambo showcased her talent, but it was her off-screen life that often stole the headlines. Gardner was married 3 times, most notably to Frank Sinatra, a relationship that was as passionate as it was volatile. Both Gardner and Sinatra were known for their love of the good life, which included late-night parties and plenty of alcohol. Gardner was never one to shy away from a drink, a habit that began in her early years in Hollywood, where the social scene often revolved around cocktails and champagne. Her marriage to Sinatra was a tempestuous affair, fueled by jealousy, career pressures, and, of course, alcohol. Their fights were legendary, often spilling over into the public eye, but so were their declarations of love, a cycle that seemed to have no end. As Gardner's career progressed, her roles became less frequent. The once rising star was now facing the challenges that came with aging in an industry that prized youth and beauty. Her drinking escalated during this period, perhaps a way to cope with the insecurities and fears that plagued her. She moved to London in the latter part of her life, living a somewhat reclusive life, far removed from the glitz and glamour of her Hollywood days. Her health began to decline in her later years, exacerbated by years of smoking and drinking. Despite attempts to maintain a healthier lifestyle, the damage was done. Gardner passed away in 1990 from pneumonia, but her legacy as one of Hollywood's most beautiful and complicated stars remains intact. Ava Gardner's life is a tale of beauty and tragedy, a star who had the world at her feet, yet couldn't escape the pitfalls that came with fame. Her story serves as a cautionary tale, a reminder that even the most dazzling of lives can be dimmed by the choices we make. Elizabeth Taylor. Elizabeth Taylor, a name that evokes timeless beauty and unparalleled stardom, was a Hollywood icon whose life was as dramatic off-screen as it was on. Born in London to American parents, Taylor's family moved to Los Angeles before the outbreak of World War II. Her beauty was evident even as a child, and it wasn't long before she was discovered by studio scouts. Taylor's rise to fame was meteoric. By the age of 12, she was already a star thanks to her role in National Velvet. As she transitioned from child star to leading lady, her roles became more complex, earning her critical acclaim and a slew of awards, including 2 Academy Awards for Best Actress. But her success came at a price. The pressure to maintain her image and career was immense, and like many of her contemporaries, Taylor sought comfort in alcohol. Her love life was a constant source of media attention, marked by 8 marriages to 7 men, including Richard Burton, whom she married twice. Each relationship brought its own set of challenges and scrutiny, further intensifying her reliance on alcohol. Taylor and Burton's relationship was particularly tumultuous, fueled by passionate love and equally passionate arguments, often exacerbated by alcohol. Despite her personal struggles, Taylor was a consummate professional, delivering performances that stood the test of time. Yet, her off-screen life often overshadowed her on-screen achievements. Her battle with alcoholism was a poorly kept secret in Hollywood circles. Friends and family spoke of her generous spirit and kindness, but also of the mood swings and erratic behavior that accompanied her drinking. In the latter part of her career, Taylor shifted her focus to humanitarian work, particularly her efforts to raise awareness about HIV/AIDS. Yet the specter of alcoholism continued to haunt her. Multiple trips to rehab did little to curb her dependency, and her health began to deteriorate, exacerbated by a host of medical issues. Taylor passed away in 2011, but her legacy remains complex and multifaceted. She was a star who shone brightly in the Hollywood firmament, yet her light was often dimmed by the struggles she faced in her personal life. Her story serves as a cautionary tale, a reminder that even the most beautiful and talented can fall victim to the pressures and pitfalls that come with fame. Dean Martin. Born Dino Paul Crosetti, was the epitome of cool in a time when Hollywood was defined by its larger-than-life personalities. Known for his smooth voice and effortless charm, Martin was a multi-talented entertainer who excelled in singing, acting, and comedy. His rise to fame was a classic rags-to-riches story, starting from humble beginnings in Ohio to becoming one of the most recognizable stars of his generation. Martin's career took off in the 1940s, but it was his partnership with Jerry Lewis that catapulted him into stardom. The Martin and Lewis comedy duo became a sensation, conquering stage, screen, and television. However, behind the laughter and applause was a man who found solace in alcohol. Martin's public persona was that of a laid-back whiskey-drinking charmer, a persona he maintained both on and off the stage. His drinking was often played for laughs, especially as part of the Rat Pack, the infamous group of entertainers that included Frank Sinatra and Sammy Davis Jr. They were the kings of Las Vegas, their shows a blend of music, comedy, and of course alcohol. But what many didn't realize was that Martin's drinking was not just part of the act. It was a coping mechanism for the pressures of fame and the complexities of his personal life. Martin was married 3 times, and each marriage had its own set of challenges exacerbated by his drinking. His first marriage to Elizabeth Ann MacDonald ended in divorce, with his alcohol consumption cited as a contributing factor. His subsequent marriages were equally complicated, marked by separations and reconciliations. As the years went on, Martin continued to perform, but the sparkle that had once defined his career began to dim. His television show, The Dean Martin Show, was a hit, but as the years progressed, his appearances became less frequent. His health began to decline, a combination of years of smoking and drinking taking their toll. Martin passed away on Christmas Day in 1995, a quiet end to a life that had been filled with applause and accolades. Dean Martin's story is one of immense talent, but also of personal struggles that were often hidden behind a facade of charm and humor. His life serves as a cautionary tale, a reminder that the glamour and glitz of Hollywood often come with a darker side, one that can consume even the most talented among us. Marilyn Monroe, born Norma Jean Mortensen, was the quintessential Hollywood starlet, embodying beauty, sensuality, and vulnerability. Her journey from a troubled childhood to the pinnacle of Hollywood stardom is a story of resilience, ambition, and undeniable talent. Monroe's early life was marked by instability, including time spent in foster homes and orphanages. Yet, she was determined to escape her past, and Hollywood offered her that chance. Monroe's rise to fame was meteoric. Her roles in films like Gentlemen Prefer Blondes and Some Like It Hot made her a household name. But beneath the glamour and the spotlight was a woman plagued by insecurities and a deep sense of loneliness. Monroe sought validation and love, often in the wrong places, including a string of high-profile relationships and marriages that ended in heartbreak. Monroe's relationship with alcohol was complicated. She was known for her use of prescription medications to cope with her anxieties and insecurities, but alcohol was also a constant companion. It was a coping mechanism, a way to numb the pain and the pressures that came with her level of fame. Her public image was that of a carefree, happy-go-lucky blonde, but those close to her knew the darker realities. Her marriages to Joe DiMaggio and Arthur Miller were highly publicized but fraught with difficulties. Both relationships were strained by her emotional struggles and her increasing dependence on alcohol and pills. Monroe's career, too, began to suffer. Her behavior on set became increasingly erratic, and she was often unable to perform without the aid of alcohol or medications. Despite her challenges, Monroe's impact on Hollywood and popular culture was indelible. She was a trailblazer in many ways, breaking barriers and challenging norms. Yet, her life was cut tragically short. Monroe was found dead in her Los Angeles home in 1962, the cause of death ruled as an overdose of barbiturates. She was just 36 years old. Marilyn Monroe's life is a haunting tale of a woman who had everything yet felt profoundly alone. Her story serves as a cautionary tale, a stark reminder of the pitfalls of fame and the personal demons that can overshadow even the most dazzling of careers. The allure of Hollywood often masks the harsh realities that its stars face. For Humphrey Bogart, Judy Garland, Richard Burton, and Ava Gardner, their struggles with alcohol were not isolated incidents, but rather symptomatic of a larger issue that plagued their careers and personal lives. Bogart's drinking led to a decline in his health, culminating in a battle with esophageal cancer that he ultimately lost. His relationships suffered, and while he found some semblance of stability with Lauren Bacall, the specter of alcoholism was a constant presence in their marriage. Judy Garland's dependency on alcohol and pills was a ticking time bomb that exploded multiple times throughout her life. Her talent was undeniable, but her addictions led to erratic performances, unreliable behavior, and ultimately, a premature death. The industry that had once adored her turned its back when the going got tough, a tragic end to a life filled with so much promise. Richard Burton's love affair with alcohol was as public as his love affair with Elizabeth Taylor. His drinking affected his work, leading to a reputation for being difficult to work with. Despite his immense talent and multiple Academy Award nominations, he never won the coveted trophy, a fact that many attribute to his lifestyle choices. Ava Gardner's beauty couldn't shield her from the effects of alcohol. Her career waned as she aged, and her drinking escalated, leading to health issues that plagued her later years. Her move to London was an attempt to escape the scrutiny that came with Hollywood, but even there, she couldn't escape herself. For each of these stars, alcohol was both a friend and a foe. It offered a temporary escape from the pressures of fame, but also served as a catalyst for their downfalls. Their stories serve as cautionary tales, stark reminders of the human cost of fame and the destructive power of addiction. In the annals of Hollywood history, the names Humphrey Bogart, Judy Garland, Richard Burton, and Ava Gardner will forever be etched in gold. Their contributions to cinema are immeasurable, their performances timeless, yet their legacies are tinged with the darker hues of their personal struggles, particularly their battles with alcoholism. These stars left behind a body of work that continues to be celebrated, but their stories also serve as cautionary tales. They remind us that fame and talent come with their own set of challenges, that the spotlight can often cast the darkest of shadows. Their lives have been dissected in biographies, documentaries, and articles, each medium attempting to understand the complexities that define them. It's a legacy that is both inspiring and warning, a testament to the human spirit's ability to soar to incredible heights and its propensity to succumb to its baser instincts.
Picture this. You're transported back in time to the 1980s, a world of big hair, bright colors, and shoulder pads. You find yourself standing on the set of The Golden Girls, surrounded by the iconic living room, kitchen, and bedrooms that played host to some of the most memorable moments in TV history. But what if we told you that there's a hidden world behind the scenes of this beloved show? A world filled with secrets, mysteries, and bizarre tales that few have ever heard before. In today's video, we're going to take you on a journey into the unknown as we uncover the strange and fascinating story behind the Golden Girls' iconic set. The set was haunted by a ghost named Charlie. Legend has it that during the early days of filming, strange things began to happen on set. Crew members reported hearing unexplained noises, seeing objects move on their own, and feeling an eerie presence in the studio. At first, people brushed off these incidents as nothing more than superstition. But as the sightings continued, some began to suspect that there might be something more going on. One day, a member of the crew decided to investigate the source of the strange occurrences. They conducted a thorough search of the set, looking for any signs of paranormal activity. To their surprise, they discovered that the source of the ghostly activity was an old soundstage that had been used for filming years before the Golden Girls came along. The stage had been abandoned for years, but it seemed that something or someone had taken up residence there. The crew members decided to investigate further, and soon they began to uncover more details about the ghostly presence. They learned that the ghost was a man named Charlie, a former sound engineer who had died on the set years before. Despite the initial fear and unease, the cast and crew of the Golden Girls came to accept Charlie as a benign presence on the set. They even went so far as to leave a chair empty on the set as a tribute to the ghostly sound engineer. Over time, the legend of Charlie the Ghost became a beloved part of Golden Girls lore, a reminder of the show's quirky and supernatural side. And while the show may be gone, the memory of Charlie and his ghostly presence lives on, a testament to the enduring appeal of the Golden Girls. They stole the iconic set. Every popular show that has ever aired usually has that one house that is so iconic because almost all of the interactions on the show happen in that house. Usually, the show producers create the set specifically for the show, but the Golden Girls crew did something a little more bizarre. The iconic house used in the show wasn't actually built for the show. As a matter of fact, the set was originally used for another popular sitcom from the 1980s called Empty Nest. When the show Empty Nest ended, they were about to pack up and leave. But then another show that was just about to start, Golden Girls, which had no set, suddenly stumbled upon the set of Empty Nest. And it was perfect for the show. It was a lovely and quaint house, pastel-colored with a large lanai and palm tree in the backyard. It was exactly what they needed at the time, and the Golden Girls crew wanted it. There was only one problem. It has been promised to another show. This would probably discourage any other crew, but not this one. They were determined to have that set for this show. So they did what any determined crew would do. They stole the set. Don't ask how they got away with it. They stole the set inspiration too. Did you know that even after they stole the set, they decided to do some redesigning to really make it come more alive? But then the fascinating thing here is that the set was actually inspired by a real-life house. The house that served as inspiration for the Golden Girls' home is located at 245 North Saltaire Avenue in the Brentwood neighborhood of Los Angeles. It was built in 1955 by the architect David Hyun and features a unique mid-century modern design with a pastel-colored exterior, large windows, as well as a flat roof. The house was owned by a woman named Betty Jameson from the early 1960s until the early 1980s. During that time, Jameson decorated the house with an eclectic mix of furniture and decor that reflected her own personal style. When the set designers for the Golden Girls visited the house, they were struck by the unique blend of traditional and modern elements and the way that the decor felt both cozy and sophisticated. The set designers then decided to steal the designs from the house, and then they took inspiration from its layout and decor when creating the Golden Girls' home. They went ahead to recreate the fine details in the house for their set, the pastel-colored exterior and the large lanai with rattan furniture and the palm tree in the backyard. They also incorporated elements of Jameson's eclectic style into the Golden Girls' home, such as the mix of traditional and modern furniture, bold floral prints, and the antique knickknacks. But despite their inspiration theft, there is a silver lining, especially from Jameson, whom they stole the design from. Interestingly, the house in Brentwood has become a popular tourist attraction for Golden Girls fans. Visitors take photos outside the house and even visit the nearby Brentwood Country Mart, where the Golden Girls would often go to the shop and socialize on the show. In 2016, the house in Brentwood went up for sale and was eventually purchased by a couple who were fans of the show. They renovated the house and added a few modern touches while still maintaining its mid-century charm. Today, the house is still a beloved symbol of the Golden Girls' legacy and the enduring power of female friendship. The secret entrance. It would surprise most Golden Girls fans to know that there was a secret door on the set. Legend has it that the door was originally installed as a practical feature, allowing the crew to store props and equipment in a convenient location without cluttering up the rest of the set. But over time, the door took on a life of its own, becoming a source of fascination for the cast and crew. During breaks between scenes, the actors would sometimes sneak off to explore the secret room behind the door. They would joke about what they might find inside, speculating about hidden treasures or secret passageways. One day, during a particularly long shoot, Betty White decided to investigate the secret room for herself. She crept over to the door and cautiously opened it, peering into the dark space beyond. To her surprise, she discovered that the room was not just a storage space, but a fully furnished lounge area complete with couches, tables, and lamps. The room was decorated in the same mid-century modern style as the rest of the set, with bold colors and geometric patterns. Betty couldn't believe her luck. She invited her castmates over to explore the secret room with her, and soon the lounge area became a popular spot for the actors to relax between scenes. They would play cards, chat, and even nap in the cozy, hidden space. Over time, the secret room became a beloved part of the Golden Girls set, a hidden oasis of calm amidst the chaos of filming. And while the show may have ended, the memory of that secret door and the lounge behind it lives on, a testament to the enduring magic and mystery of the Golden Girls. The real purpose of the sitting room. You will not believe the real story behind why the sitting room in Golden Girls was designed the way it was, to make the cast look good. The set designers knew that the actors' appearances would be crucial to the success of the show. They wanted to make sure that the four leading ladies looked their best on camera, so they set about designing a living room that would complement their unique features. They spent months poring over color swatches, selecting furniture, and experimenting with different lighting setups. They even consulted with a team of makeup artists and hairstylists to ensure that the colors and tones in the room would complement the actors' skin and hair. Finally, after much trial and error, the perfect living room was born. It was filled with warm, vibrant colors, from the rich reds and oranges of the furniture to the bold green of the wallpaper. The lighting was carefully calibrated to enhance the actors' skin tones and bring out the colors in their clothing. When the actors first stepped onto the set, they were blown away by how good they looked. Even Bea Arthur, who was notoriously critical of her appearance, was impressed by how the living room made her look on camera. And it wasn't just the actors who benefited from the set designer's expertise. Viewers at home were also drawn to the warm, inviting atmosphere of the Golden Girls' living room, and many of them commented on how good the cast looked on the show. In the end, it appears that these popular and beloved shows have bizarre and downright fascinating secrets, but ultimately, all secrets come to the light.
If you're a devoted member of the Brady Bunch fan club, you know that even the grooviest shows can have their fair share of slip-ups. But did you ever catch these unexpected blunders that remained under our retro radar for years? It's time to uncover some continuity errors and mistakes that a lot of people missed in the show, exposing actors' slip-ups. Have you ever caught yourself wondering how actors and actresses are able to stick to calling their co-stars by their screen names instead of their real names? Well, some cast members of the Brady Bunch mistakenly called their co-stars by their real names. Did you notice? While the characters in the Brady Bunch had well-established names, there were instances when the actors accidentally referred to their colleagues by their real names. In the episode What Goes Up, Peter Brady jumps on a trampoline, and Florence Henderson's character, Carol Brady, cheers, "Go get him, Chris." In this moment, it appears that Henderson momentarily dropped her on-screen persona and unintentionally called her on-screen son, Christopher Knight, who played Peter Brady by his real name. Similarly, in Amateur Night, as the Brady kids prepare for a talent show, Maureen McCormick, who played Marcia, calls out, "Come on, Chris," during a rehearsal. Although her character was supposed to address her on-screen brother, McCormick's slip-up suggests that her real-life familiarity with Christopher Knight temporarily overshadowed her character's name, Marcia. While these were clearly mistakes on the part of the actors, the editors of the show would have either edited it or the scenes would have been reshot. However, the scenes were left untouched, and a lot of viewers probably didn't notice. It's safe to say that these unintentional mistakes are glimpses into the relaxed and genuine atmosphere on the set of The Brady Bunch, where the actors treated each other like family. But these name slip-ups were not the only errors on the show that went unnoticed. There is more, a hidden flaw in the Brady home. Most fans of The Brady Bunch were too busy enjoying the show to notice when a scene in the episode titled "You Can't Win 'Em All" revealed something unexpected. While fans of the Brady Bunch may recall the idyllic suburban residence where the Brady family resided, there is an architectural blunder that has gone largely unnoticed. As the show's patriarch, Mike Brady is an esteemed architect. One would expect his own home to showcase his craft, flawlessly designed and meticulously maintained. However, upon closer inspection, a subtle yet perplexing mistake comes to light, one that has escaped the keen eyes of most fans. Situated at the end of the raised brick entryway to the Brady home, a discerning observer might notice that a few tiles are missing, subtly interrupting the otherwise seamless flow of the design. This minute detail may have gone unnoticed by the average viewer, but it poses an intriguing question. How could such a discrepancy exist in the home of a diligent architect like Mike Brady? Makes you wonder if it was an intentional flaw to showcase the imperfections of real-life families or something the props team forgot to put in place. One possible explanation for this peculiar oversight lies within the mischievous nature of the Brady boys. Known for their misadventures and occasional hijinks, it is plausible to speculate that they inadvertently caused the missing tiles through their exuberant sports activities inside the house. Perhaps during one of their boisterous games, a ball ricocheted off a wall, colliding with the tiles and causing them to chip and dislodge from the entryway. Or perhaps this hidden flaw was a result of a mistake that the props department made. Whatever it is, the fact that a lot of people didn't notice it shows that it blended right into the show. Interestingly, there was also a mysterious item on the set of the show that was not supposed to be there: the mysterious white rope. Truth be told, creating an interesting TV show is no easy feat, and it is absolutely normal for editors to bypass minor mistakes. This was probably why the white rope in an episode of The Brady Bunch went unnoticed. This flaw, nestled within the episode titled The Hero, revolves around an unsuspecting detail: the visible white rope that played a pivotal role in the unfolding of events. As the plot thickens, young Peter Brady emerges as the unlikely savior in a perilous situation. A little girl's life hangs in the balance as a shelving unit teeters on the edge of collapse within the toy store, but it is during this climactic moment that the keen-eyed observer can discern the presence of a thin, white rope surreptitiously yanking the red shelves away from the wall. It seems like the white roll was supposed to be hidden from the viewers, but it wasn't hidden well. Upon initial viewing, this imperfection may have gone unnoticed, obscured by the captivating narrative and endearing characters, but anyone who takes a closer look at the scene would notice the white rope that was used to create the effect of the shelves falling. The Brady Bunch fans missed this and also missed the one time when gravity failed in another episode. The law of physics was defied. The house of cards that the kids assembled in the episode titled 54 and Fight was certainly a sight to behold. The viewers were probably wondering how the kids were able to put together all those cards perfectly. Well, it seems like a little adhesive came in handy. An intriguing occurrence took place in the beloved TV show The Brady Bunch during an episode where the kids attempted to build a delicate house of cards. While the collapse of their masterpiece was expected, an astute eye might have noticed something rather peculiar, a few cards that mysteriously remained steadfastly glued together, defying the laws of physics. The construction of a house of cards is an intricate feat, requiring patience, precision, and a touch of skill. Behind the scenes, the props department undoubtedly faced the daunting task of assembling a prop that would convincingly depict the children's fragile creation. To ensure stability during filming, it seems the crew opted for a bonding agent to hold the cards together, allowing for a more controlled demolition. However, the true marvel lies in the fact that this magical bond managed to elude the attention of most viewers. Aside from this, there was also a lack of continuity in the dressing department that was clearly a mistake. Unnoticed wardrobe malfunctions. In the episode titled The Not So Ugly Duckling, Jan inadvertently fell victim to a striking clothing blooper. As the plot unfolded and Jan conveyed her character's concerns to her parents about her crush Clark's affections towards Marcia, an unforeseen wardrobe mishap occurred. At the start of the episode, Jan was seen wearing a charming floral-patterned shirt, complemented by a red rope of yarn adorning her hair. However, as she ascended the staircase to confront Marcia about the situation, a puzzling transformation took place. Suddenly, the red hair tie inexplicably turned green, and Jan's shirt underwent a magical metamorphosis, transmuting into an entirely different print altogether. This unnoticed alteration left fans perplexed and questioned the meticulousness of the show's wardrobe department. Another fascinating example comes from the introduction of the episode titled Goodbye, Alice, Hello, where Greg and Peter arrive home from school, exhibiting their youthful exuberance by tossing books around like a football. As Greg first steps into the backyard, keen-eyed viewers might have caught a glimpse of what appeared to be Black Beetle's boots adorning his feet. However, in the subsequent shot when the brothers enter the house, an astonishing transformation unfolds. Greg's footwear mysteriously changes to white Adidas sneakers. This subtle yet striking continuity error certainly exposes yet another glitch in the show's production. Interestingly, outfits were not the only things that magically changed in certain scenes. Vehicles were also swapped with no explanation whatsoever. The car continuity confusion. Not many viewers noticed the mysterious car switch in the episode titled The Winner. Could it be that the crew members also missed it? The episode titled The Winner follows the adventurous Brady family as they attend a live televised ice cream eating contest, with young Bobby Brady eager to prove his competitive eating prowess. As the episode unfolds, a keen-eyed observer might notice a significant inconsistency when it comes to the family's mode of transportation. As Mike and Carol Brady embark on their journey to the TV station, they can be seen cruising down the street in a vibrant blue convertible, undoubtedly a stylish choice for the occasion. However, a perplexing switch occurs when the family makes their triumphant return home after the contest. Suddenly, without any explanation or acknowledgement, the Brady clan finds themselves riding in their trusty brown station wagon instead. How didn't the production team notice this? Despite all these, there is no denying that The Brady Bunch was one of the most interesting shows in the 70s. These errors may have been avoidable, but they didn't take away from the interesting nature of the show. While the production team of The Brady Bunch failed to conceal these errors, in 1980, a powerful and highly interesting movie was released for the world to see. But this was no ordinary movie. It was a beautiful tale that sparked all kinds of emotions in the hearts of viewers, leaving a powerful message behind. It's been decades since the film was released, and it is still a must-see for cinephiles and moviegoers alike. Some will argue that it is one of the best films that has ever been made. The conception and making of The Elephant Man. Looking at the number of positive reviews that The Elephant Man has received over the years, it is clear that the movie was a work of art from the start. But behind every incredible work of art is an artist or artists who created with intentionality. There is no denying that The Elephant Man turned out to be a masterpiece of filmmaking that continues to captivate audiences to this day. However, there was a time when the movie was just an idea. At the point when the vision of The Elephant Man was still in seed form, all that was available was a script that was clearly rich. But the vision for the movie could only become a reality if the right people took the script and turned it into a masterpiece through creativity and outstanding skills. Because of how delicate and different the storyline was, the creators of the film decided to go in search of the right cast and crew members who would bring the movie to life in a mind-blowing way. The journey originally began with the director, David Lynch, who had long been fascinated by the story of Joseph Merrick, a man born with severe physical deformities. Interestingly, David Lynch was no stranger to these kinds of stories. He already had some experience in making films with that theme. The director had previously explored the theme of deformity in his debut film Eraserhead, and he saw in Merrick's story an opportunity to delve deeper into this subject matter. One thing was clear, the storyline was superb. He just needed the right actors to bring it to life. For the role of Joseph Merrick, Lynch had his sights set on John Hurt, an actor known for his intense and deeply emotional performances. John Hurt was initially hesitant to take on the role, worried that the extensive makeup and prosthetics required would obscure his performance. He almost didn't take the role, but after seeing the impressive work of makeup artist Christopher Tucker, John Hurt knew for a fact that he was in great hands. The makeup process was a work of art. Looking back on the film, it is clear that the makeup process for The Elephant Man was a feat of artistry and technical wizardry. Anyone who has seen pictures of the real Elephant Man would testify to the fact that the makeup artist took his time to make the deformities of the main character look real. It took Tucker and his team an incredible 7 hours each day to transform Hurt into Merrick, using a combination of latex, foam, and other materials to create a realistic-looking mask that covered almost his entire face. The fact that so much effort and resources went into transforming the main character physically shows how dedicated they were to create a movie that was realistic and captivating. The film's visual and auditory elements are striking and memorable. Aside from the process of applying the makeup, the filming The Elephant Man was also not without its challenges. The film was shot in black and white, which added to its haunting and otherworldly quality, but also made it more difficult to capture the nuances of light and shadow. Additionally, many of the scenes were shot on location in London, which posed logistical challenges and required extensive coordination with local authorities. Despite these obstacles, Lynch and his crew persevered, creating a film that was both visually stunning and emotionally impactful. Mind-blowing performances. The film boasts of exceptional performances from its cast, particularly John Hurt as Joseph Merrick and Anthony Hopkins as Dr. Frederick Treves. John Hurt's portrayal of Merrick was sympathetic, and he manages to convey the character's intelligence and humanity despite the physical limitations of his performance. Many people who applaud John Hurt's performance to date didn't know the actor was uncomfortable with the heavy prosthetics. But despite the discomfort and claustrophobia that came with the process, Hurt remained committed to the role, giving a stunning performance that earned him a BA. It was based on a poignant and deeply moving story. At a certain point in time, not many people knew that The Elephant Man was actually based on a true life story. The movie tells the story of Joseph Merrick, a man with severe physical deformities who was known as the Elephant Man. The emotional story that inspired the film was one of the major reasons why the film touched the hearts of many. The storyline, which was derived from the real Elephant Man's life, held a lot of raw emotions and lessons that left the viewers in awe. The film begins with a scene of a carnival barker advertising the Elephant Man exhibit. It then cuts to Dr. Frederick Treves, a surgeon at the London hospital, who visits the carnival and is shocked by what he sees. He discovers that Joseph is being exhibited as a sideshow freak and decides to bring him to the hospital to examine him and provide him with proper medical care. Treves initially keeps Joseph isolated in a room at the hospital, but as he begins to examine him, he realizes that he is not mentally impaired, as he had initially assumed. Joseph is revealed to be intelligent, kind, and articulate, despite his physical deformities. He reveals to Treves that his deformities started to appear when he was 5 years old, and that his mother died from asphyxiation. As the film progresses, we see Joseph's life in the hospital, where he befriends the other patients and staff, including a kind nurse named Mrs. Mothershead. He also gains the attention of the London elite, who becomes fascinated with him and invites him to parties and events. However, not everyone is accepting of Joseph. The hospital's head nurse, Miss Sandwich, is cruel and abusive to him, and a group of hooligans attacks him when he tries to attend a play. Throughout the film, we see Joseph struggle to find acceptance and love in a world that views him as a monster. Despite his intelligence and kindness, he is still ostracized and feared by many. In the end, Joseph dies in his sleep, and Treves reflects on his life and how he failed to truly understand him. The film ends with the famous line, "We can never know what he went through, but we can try to understand him." One thing that is clear is that the film explores themes of isolation and acceptance and stresses the importance of compassion. The Elephant Man is a reminder of the human capacity for both cruelty and kindness. It is nearly impossible to watch the entire film without shedding a tear or two. Any movie that has the capacity to spark such emotion and compassion in the hearts of viewers will not be forgotten in a hurry. A timeless film. The storyline of The Elephant Man was certainly an emotional and powerful one that has left a mark in the history of black and white cinematography. Since its release in 1980, people have not been able to stop talking about it to date. The film has received several positive reviews from people all over the world for decades and continues to make history as a timeless work of art. Saying the film is a commercial success is an understatement, as it has earned 8 Academy Award nominations, including Best Picture and Best Director. Looking back on the making of The Elephant Man, it's clear that the film was made with the passion, creativity, and determination of everyone involved. From the visionary direction of David Lynch to the incredible performances of John Hurt and the skillful artistry of the makeup team, every aspect of the film was a labor of love that continues to inspire and captivate audiences today. The outstanding creative process that went into the movie undoubtedly contributed to making it one of the greatest movies of all time. The Elephant Man is proof of what happens when talented stars come together to make a work of art. When the rumors about Clara Bo surfaced, it was the most terrible thing that had ever happened to her career. In a bid to shut the mouth of the only person who knew her secrets, she ended up in court, and all the secrets became public knowledge. Soon the public knew about all the orgies and threesomes she had with random men, and how she even willingly had intercourse with a dog. Are all of these just rumors, or is there some truth in there? Sadly, Clara is just one of the plethora of Hollywood stars who suffered from nasty rumors being peddled about them. This video would delve into some of the nasty rumors from the golden age of Hollywood. Some of them get pretty dark, others are shocking or just plain creepy. Brace yourself. The suspicious demise of Thomas Ince. Like the saying goes, love makes you do stupid things, but just how far would one go for love? Allegedly, on a beautiful boat in the middle of the ocean, someone proved just how far they were willing to go for someone they loved, and it ended quite terribly for Thomas Ince. But if you're wondering who Thomas Ince is, it's okay if you don't know him. He was a man who did not mind being known because he worked behind the camera and was one of the biggest pioneers in Hollywood. He created one of the first standard movie studios, and it has all of the complete sets, light, and sound stages. Ince's company grew very successful, and it is what is known today as MGM Studios. But after a while, Thomas probably got a bit bored and decided to sell the company, which he did for a whopping undisclosed sum. Now that it was all over, everyone expected that he would retire, but he went ahead to start another studio called Paramount Pictures, and he sold that as well, too. However, in 1942, business was not going very well for Thomas, and he was almost at the verge of bankruptcy. But Thomas tried not to let it bother him too much. He tried to focus on things that would make him happy. So for his 42nd birthday, he insisted on throwing a big party to distract himself a little bit. His very good friend, William Randolph Hearst, was so much in support of this idea that he decided to borrow Thomas his boat for the party. It was perfect. Thomas went ahead to invite a few people, including Hearst and Charlie Chaplin, who just wanted to have a good time. There were drinks, food, and lots of girls, but sadly, this night turned ugly really fast. After dinner that night, the official reports say that Thomas had a terrible case of indigestion, and it got so bad they had to stop at Los Angeles and have him see a doctor who examined him and sent him home afterward. But the very next day, Toma was gone, and the official report says it was a case of heart failure. But was it? Rumors and speculations began to spread as to what people thought the true cause of his demise was. According to the rumors, it was not indigestion or even heart failure, but Thomas was shot. How? Well, it was speculated that Hearst walked into Charlie Chaplin getting a little frisky with Hearst's mistress, Davies, and in a fit of jealous rage, he pulled out his gun, aimed it at Charlie, and pulled the trigger. Unfortunately, he missed, and the bullet hit Thomas instead. Was this what truly happened? No one knows for sure, but Thomas was hurriedly cremated after his demise, and a witness who had seen the whole thing was immediately awarded a contract. On one hand, all these seem a little too organized and planned, but on the other hand, it could all be just one big coincidence. Judy Garland's abuse. By any stretch of the imagination, she is an amazing singer and an incredible actor. Best known for her role in The Wizard of Oz, Judy has made herself more than just the girl next door, but a Hollywood star and icon worth mentioning. But behind the scenes of her life, something horrible was going on, and none of her fans had a clue. One day at the vaudeville circuit, when Judy was just about 13 years old, the co-founder of MGM Studios, Louis B. Mayer, heard her sing and was simply taken aback by Judy's amazing talent. At that point, Mayer knew there was something special about Judy and was determined to make an even bigger star out of her. As a matter of fact, Mayer did not even care if Judy could act or not. She wanted to work with her. Mayer was even quoted to say that he did not care what Judy looked like. All he cared about was what she sounded like. That statement right there later became the biggest irony in Judy's life because, by the time Judy turned 14, her size became a cause of concern for the studio, so much so that rumors had it that they tried to restrict her diet so much that it pushed her to a life of depression and depending on drugs. She was allegedly called all sorts of names by some people in the studio, including fat little pig with pigtails. Even after her first movie came out, rumor has it that the bullying didn't stop. The studio decided to put her on a strict diet, but this was not an issue. The issue was that the studio became allegedly abusive about it. They would go as far as serving her food and taking it right back from her before she even touched it, all in a bid to tease and torture her. Even after she got married to her husband at 18, she was 4'11" and 98 pounds. The studio seemed to agree that her weight was acceptable, but behind closed doors, rumor has it that they intensified Judy's diet. They wanted to maintain her weight, so she was strictly restricted to only chicken soup, black coffee, and pills designed to suppress her appetite, which she was being forced to take every 4 hours. On top of all these, the rumors say that she was even forced to take up to 80 cigarettes a day. Sadly, all of these took a toll on her and forced her into a life of pills and drugs, so much so that at 37 years of age, she was medically pronounced as permanent semi-invalid. While a lot of people believe that her condition was due to other factors, rumors and speculation point fingers at her studio. Howard Strickling was an evil fixer. You know those movies where there's a character that is the go-to when a problem needs to be solved? They are just a call away, and no matter how terrible the problem is, they can just magically make it go away. Well, this is kind of how Howard Strickling was back in the day. As the head of publicity for MGM Studios, how actors and actresses were perceived was very important to him, and he was in charge of presenting them in a way that they would be loved and accepted. But there was a small problem. The Hollywood industry had a very specific way they wanted actresses to look and be presented, and as such, studios needed to give the fans what they wanted. The bad news, however, was that this mostly affected actresses, as they had to always be perceived as beautiful, perfect, and undefiled. Therefore, when a young actress in the studio got pregnant, it had to be taken care of discreetly so their image and reputation could be protected. Rumor had it that Howard was the go-to guy if anyone in the industry wanted to get a discreet abortion. As a matter of fact, sometimes he did not give them a choice in the matter. When an actress was doing great and suddenly becomes pregnant, it becomes bad for business, so it was speculated that Howard would force them into doing abortions so the studio could continue making money off them. According to rumors, a lot of actresses and female celebrities had Howard on speed dial just in case their drunken night at the party became a bit more serious. Names like Judy Garland, Jean Harlo, Joan Crawford, and even Bette Davis. Funny enough, when Davis eventually had children, she was reportedly shocked that she could conceive even after all the abortions she had done, facilitated by Howard Strickling. A lot of other actresses reportedly looked to Howard as the go-to guy for abortions. He would allegedly introduce them to his friend nicknamed Dr. Killcare. Whether these rumors are true or not is yet to be determined, but it is definitely a cause for concern. Fatty Arbuckle's controversial murder trial. It was Labor Day in 1921. Everything was going great at this party. There were distinguished guests, booze, music, and everything a part needed, but just a few hours into the night, something terrible happened. Until today, no one can truly explain it. It was Hollywood's first high-profile scandal, and a cause for a lot of rumors and speculations. The character, Fatty Arbuckle, and the beautiful Virginia Rappa. Fatty was a very successful Hollywood star, a comedian who pulled crowds from far and wide, so much so that he became the first comedian millionaire. But his career took a dramatic turn for the worst when at a Labor Day party in 1921, he was with talented actress Rapp, when according to him, she began to complain that she was exhausted and needed to go lie down. Still, according to Fatty, he took her upstairs to a hotel room to lie down and catch her breath. A few hours later, Rapp's scream could be heard, and people ran into the room to see her laying on the floor. She was gone. Everyone got into a frenzy and began to speculate that Fatty had tried to force himself on her but took her life when she refused. But he claimed he was in the bathroom when she screamed and fell down. However, Rapp's last words, when she was found, were, "He did this to me." And so the matter went to trial. There were no signs of any force. She was fully dressed when she was found, and eventually, after 3 long trials, Fatty was acquitted. But it was too late. His career was over. The question remains, did he really do it, or was he innocent? No one knows for sure. Errol Flynn's creepy relationship with underage girls. The more you listen to this particular story, the creepier and weirder it gets. According to reports, Flynn was not the most straightforward man, and he was involved in so many things that would make your skin crawl. 48 years old and married with a successful career in Hollywood, one would assume Flynn would be happy and content with his life. But despite how good his life was, he was reportedly hooking up with 15-year-old Beverly Adland, and rumor had it that this union was nowhere near consensual. However, Adland reportedly mentioned that she eventually fell in love with him and they would travel the world together. According to her, their relationship was wild and fun. When these two unlikely couples first met, Flynn's career was not doing so great. He was in the middle of child support battles with his ex-wives, a known drunk, and even accused of inappropriate relations with 2 other underage girls. Rumor had it that in a bid to boost his recognition and career in the creepiest way, he and Adland would pretend to be in a toxic relationship. He would pretend to beat her up in public, and she would use ketchup to imitate blood. Eventually, people got talking about it, and it brought the press back to his doorstep, just like he wanted. Is there truth to all these, or is it a little too far-fetched? Your theory is as good as mine. Clara Bo was sex-crazed? The early 1920s were a very conservative period in Hollywood, but Clara Bo, the Hollywood it girl at the time, made it to the tabloids, and the nastiest of rumors and speculations were spewed about her. It all started when Bo had a falling out with her secretary, Daisy DeVoe, which forced the secretary to quit her job and walk away, taking a lot of files that belonged to Bo with her. These files contained a lot of Bo's personal information, and Daisy, having worked very closely with her boss all this time, knew some secrets that could ruin her. So after a while, Daisy began to blackmail Bo, and the actress was not having it. She sued her former secretary, but the move backfired horribly when in court, all the secrets reportedly came out and the tabloids had a field day. It was speculated that Bo would sleep with anything and anyone, including having orgies with an entire football team, hooking up with married men, and even sleeping with a dog. Hopefully these rumors aren't true, but you never know. Natalie Woods' tyrant mother. Based on a lot of rumors and speculations, Natalie Woods did not really have the best of childhoods. Because her father was gone before she grew old enough to know him, Natalie's mother was in control of her life and that of her sister, and she held them with an iron fist. Natalie's mother, Maria, was a Russian immigrant who was determined to see her daughters succeed in Hollywood. She became Natalie's manager, controlling her career and personal life from a young age. Maria pushed Natalie into acting and was highly involved in her professional decisions, often prioritizing Natalie's career over her emotional well-being. According to reports, the pressure Natalie faced from her mother led to a strained relationship between them. Natalie felt controlled and restricted, unable to make her own choices and decisions. Maria's demanding nature and high expectations placed a considerable amount of stress on Natalie, contributing to feelings of anxiety and self-doubt. Her mother would reportedly go as far as pimping her out to older men in exchange for movie roles. As Natalie entered adulthood and gained independence, she sought to break free from her mother's influence. She attempted to exert control over her own life and career, which created further tension between them. This strained relationship with her mother affected Natalie's ability to establish healthy boundaries and form trusting relationships with others. Could there be truth to all of these speculations? Could a mother abuse her own daughter in this way? The answer is still at large. How Olive Thomas took her own life. Olive Thomas was an American silent film actress who rose to prominence in the 1910s. Tragically, her life was cut short at the age of 25 in 1920 under mysterious circumstances. While there have been various rumors and speculations surrounding Olive Thomas, one particularly nasty rumor that emerged after her demise involved allegations of her engaging in immoral or scandalous behavior. One of the most persistent rumors about Olive Thomas was that she took her life from poisoning as a result of excessive drug use or an intentional overdose. This rumor gained traction due to the prevalence of drug use among some individuals in the entertainment industry during that time. However, there is still no substantial evidence to support these claims. Jeanette MacDonald was in a tragic love triangle. This one is a story of love, betrayal, and heartbreak between three legendary figures, Louis B. Mayer, Jeanette MacDonald, and Nelson Eddy. It's the golden age of Hollywood, and the studio system reigns supreme. Louis B. Mayer, the powerful head of MGM, ruled with an iron fist, and he held the fate of actors like Jeanette MacDonald and Nelson Eddy in the palm of his hand. The stars shone brightly under the studio's roof, but they were also ensnared in tight contracts, leaving little room for personal freedom. Enter Jeanette MacDonald and Nelson Eddy, two gifted performers who found themselves constantly paired together in the studio's beloved musicals. Though never officially married, their on-screen chemistry was undeniable, and off-screen, they were the loves of each other's lives. But this love story was a source of immense frustration for Mayer, who feared their union would overshadow their lucrative careers. In the summer of 1935, fate took an unexpected turn. MacDonald discovered she was carrying Eddy's baby. This was a scandal waiting to explode. Mayer was horrified at the prospect of unwed stars and the potential impact on their star power. This was exactly what he had been trying to avoid. So he hatched a chilling plan worthy of a Hollywood villain. According to the whispered rumors, Mayer allegedly forced MacDonald to have an abortion, using his power and influence to control her fate. Threatening to blacklist both her and Eddy, he left her no choice but to comply. It was a heartbreaking decision for MacDonald, torn between love and career, and Mayer held her future in his merciless hands. But as it turns out, a more tragic thing occurred. MacDonald suffered a miscarriage, losing the child she never wanted to lose. But fate had one last cruel twist in store. Both Eddy and Mayer, unaware of the truth, assumed she had indeed gone through with the abortion, leading Eddy to end their relationship. Mayer, in his twisted joy, pushed MacDonald to work even harder, using her sorrow as leverage to trap her in more movie contracts. Mayer's obsession with keeping the pair apart knew no bounds. He allegedly made chilling threats against Eddie's life, desperate to maintain control over his star's actions. Rumor has it he even went so far as to sabotage Eddie's car, hoping to send a clear and deadly message. Charles Laughton had a feces fetish. Laughton harbored a secretive desire that would make your jaw drop. According to the audacious accounts of Scotty Bowers, the actor made a rather peculiar request. He wanted Bowers, a popular Hollywood fixer, to arrange a special encounter with a hot young man while his wife was away. But that was not even the nasty part, because this rendezvous involved something quite unexpected, a sandwich-making session like no other. According to Bowers' memoir, here's how the night went. Bowers arrives at Laughton's abode, accompanied by the young man in question. Little do they know that their afternoon is about to take a bizarre turn. As soon as they set foot inside, Laughton springs into action, whipping up a sandwich with the enthusiasm of a culinary master. At first, nothing seemed off. It was just a sandwich with lettuce, tomatoes, sourdough bread, lemon juice, salt and pepper. Laughton crafts the sandwich with meticulous care. But here's where things take an unexpected twist. In a move that no one could have predicted, the actor takes the bread slices in one hand and a pot in the other. Then he asks the young man to follow him into the bathroom. As the young man and Laughton ventured into the bathroom, the curiosity in the air is palpable. What on earth could be going on in there? Seconds ticked by, and finally, Charles Laughton emerges from the bathroom looking ever so nonchalant. He placed the plate with the assembled sandwich on the kitchen table, and that's when the astonishing revelation comes to light. Scotty Bowers, wide-eyed and curious, notices something peculiar about the lettuce and tomatoes on the sandwich. They've been lightly smeared with a mysterious brow substance. Seconds later, the young man, let's call him Ted, reappears in the kitchen. But something had changed. His previous excitement had vanished, replaced by sheepishness and even a hint of embarrassment. Bowers can't help but stare curiously at Ted, who pulls a face, hoping Laughton won't catch on to what's just happened. And in an unforgettable moment, Ted points at the sandwich on the plate and lightly pats his backside. That's when it all came together. The brown substance on the bread was Ted's feces, and believe it or not, right before their eyes, Charles Laughton does the unthinkable. He takes a bite of the sandwich. William Taylor was killed by a mob hitman. The circumstances around the demise of William Taylor are both mysterious and sketchy. There are so many theories and speculations. How did he really pass on? Let's rewind to February 1st, 1921, a fateful night that would forever change Hollywood's history. Taylor met with his girlfriend and talented comedian Mabel Normand at his Los Angeles home. They bid each other goodnight at 7:45 p.m., seemingly like any other evening in the City of Stars. However, the next morning at 7:30 a.m., Taylor's valet made a grisly discovery. The director's lifeless body lay in the front room, pierced by a fatal bullet through his back. The facts may be straightforward, but the cast of potential suspects paints a complex and intriguing portrait. As the LAPD and Hollywood gossip columnists descended on the case, the list of suspects grew longer than the credits of a blockbuster movie. Mabel Normand found herself under scrutiny, discovered rummaging through Taylor's belongings at the crime scene, which raised eyebrows and suspicions. Adding to the intrigue was Mary Miles Minter, a rising starlet whose infatuation with Taylor had reached obsessive heights. Blonde hairs matching Minter's were found on Taylor's jacket, adding a dramatic twist to the investigation. And then there was Edward Sands, one of Taylor's former servants, whose suspicious behavior came to light. He had stolen a considerable sum of $5,000 from the director and had been lurking around Taylor in the days leading up to his demise. The motive appeared to be rooted in betrayal and revenge. But the plot thickens even further when we dive into the world of Hollywood's dark underbelly, the mob, and its lucrative drug racket. Taylor, an anti-drug campaigner, had discovered the sinister dealings of drug pushers operating around film sets, ensnaring stars like Normand in their dangerous web. His determination to save Mabel led him to expose the mob's activities, and even tipped off the FBI, cracking down on their illicit business. Could this be why he was killed? Could this act of heroism have sealed his fate? Some speculate that the mob bosses, furious at Taylor's interference with their drug enterprise, may have sent a hitman to silence him forever. In the land of make-believe, truth and fiction often blur, and this theory adds a haunting layer of darkness to an already mysterious case. Some would suggest that if you looked closer, there is some truth to all of these. Even if you have $4 million in the bank, you can't buy another liver. These were the words that George Maharis said in an interview when he realized that he had an illness that could potentially put an end to his life. At the time, he was on top of his game in Hollywood, but now he had no other choice but to leave. Seems simple enough, but Hollywood wasn't done with him yet, and so they decided to fight and force him to stay even when he didn't want to. George was devastated. The producers at Route 66 were determined not to let him go. The battle line was drawn. How did it all pan out? Let's find out. Little beginnings. He was a natural-born singer, ready to take on the music industry. But all his dreams of being a musician came crashing down when he damaged his vocal cords. This rather unfortunate event would lead him to the very craft that changed his life forever. The talented star George Maharis was born in Astoria, Queens. He had a lot of siblings, as he was the third child out of 7 in his family. Unfortunately, his parents were not financially equipped to take care of him and his siblings. They were struggling initially to make ends meet. He did not exactly grow up in a wealthy home, but his parents had always tried to do their best to take care of him and his other 5 siblings. They had migrated from Greece in search of a better life for their family, and they worked hard for it. Growing up, George was a fairly good kid. He did as his parents asked and never got into any sort of serious trouble. So when it was time to start high school, his parents were assured that George would make them proud. He was enrolled in Flushing High School, where his classmates noticed his singing talent. But if he was being honest with himself, George did not really like school. Education did not appeal to him, but his immigrant parents would not watch him throw his life away, so they agreed on a compromise. Although he didn't finish school, George later joined the United States Marine Corps for 18 months. After that, he earned his high school diploma. Solid compromise, but George still had a gaping hole in his heart. He had a passion for singing, and he would be better off pursuing that. So he decided to pursue a career in singing, but he quickly realized that pursuing a singing career was not exactly lucrative. Also, he was said to have undergone improper vocal lessons that damaged his vocal cords. When this happened, he knew for a fact that he could not pursue a singing career in the long run. He later picked up another interest in not just entertainment but acting, and he appeared in musicals outside of New York City. His first acting opportunity came on the TV show Mr. Peepers, where he played a funny version of Marlon Brando. Now the trajectory of his career had changed. He decided he was fascinated by acting, and so he studied at the Actors Studio with Sanford Meisner and Lee Strasberg. His dream was simple: learn all he can and dominate Hollywood. If only it were that easy. Route 66, his big break. A few years after learning in acting school, George came out energetic and ready to take on Hollywood, but no one told him that nothing was handed to anyone on a platter of gold. So, like a lot of other aspirants, George Maharis had to start from scratch and work on several acting gigs here and there, but nothing solid enough to put his name on the map. But he kept at it and hoped that one day he would get his big break. Sure enough, in 1960, Maharis starred alongside Martin Milner in the TV series Route 66, which aired on CBS. And as one would expect, he played the role with all of his might, and people noticed. His performance was recognized with an Emmy nomination for Outstanding Lead Actor in a Series in 1962. He was the happiest man in the world when the praises and accolades started rolling in. His dream was coming through before his very eyes. Months later, Maharis had appeared in about 82 episodes when health issues began to come for him, including a serious case of hepatitis. The next line of action was clear: he had to leave the show. Everyone, both fans and studio producers alike, were sad to see him leave, but after he left, he dedicated his life to making a good recovery and perhaps coming back to work. Once again, fate smiled at him. In 1962, George was healthy enough to come back to work. He had made a full and fast recovery, and when asked how he did it, he claimed that abstaining from alcohol was what helped. But now, things were a little different at work. The work hours were brutal, and he just could not keep up. So again, George had to leave, as it was taking a toll on his health. In an interview, George was asked why he decided to leave again, and his answer was simple and short. He said, "I have to protect my future. I keep going at the present pace. I'm a fool." But after working with them all this while, the Route 66 producers would not let George go just like that, and so they put up a fight, a rather aggressive fight, Maharis versus Route 66. When the producers found out that George was leaving, they resorted to starting a legal battle that he didn't see coming. Initially, Maharis didn't seek other employment, but once the producers replaced him for the next season, he began booking other engagements. He had been scheduled to appear on The Ed Sullivan Show in June 1963, but the Route 66 producers, claiming he was still under an exclusive contract, prevented his appearance through legal action. They accused him of faking illness to break his contract. One person even accused Maharis of prioritizing a film career over his loyalty to the company, his co-star, and the rest of the show's cast and crew. Maharis argued that times had changed and companies couldn't treat actors as mere commodities. He eventually won the legal battle, proving that his contract was invalid. Despite attempts at reconciliation from the Route 66 producers, Maharis made his first TV appearance after leaving the show on July 2, 1963. After his departure, the show's popularity declined, and it was ultimately canceled in March 1964, the fate that the producers were trying to escape. But sadly, now it was too late. Even though George had won the case, after a while he figured the acting industry was a bit too toxic for him, and then he remembered he had other interesting talents as well. In that pivotal moment, his spirit ignited, and he found himself on a profound journey of self-discovery that revealed a gift that had laid dormant within him for years, the exploration phase. It was almost as though Maharis just remembered he could sing. This single realization was the beginning of a memorable music career. Instantly, he decided to take a break from the acting scene and plunge into singing with as much excellence as he could, and the results were simply astonishing. Early in his career, Maharis released albums and singles through Epic Records. His first album, titled George Maharis Sings, had a notable presence on Billboard's album chart in 1962, staying for 29 weeks and reaching number 10. It ended up being the 41st most popular album of the year. One of his singles, Teach Me Tonight, achieved moderate success. It spent 11 weeks on the Billboard charts in 1962, reaching number 25 on the Hot 100 and number 8 on the Easy Listening chart. Another single, Love Me As I Love You, reached number 17 on the Easy Listening chart in September 1962. In 1963, Maharis made his singing debut on television, appearing on The Judy Garland Show. He performed the song Side by Side alongside Judy Garland. But all of these successes were not enough for him. He was on a roll now, and so later on, he decided to expand his career into something a bit different. Maharis began performing in nightclubs and pursuing a newfound passion for painting. As of 2008, he continued to paint, dividing his time between New York City and Beverly Hills, California. But just like many Hollywood stars, Maharis found himself bearing the brunt of his scandalous life. More legal issues. Unfortunately, even though George had lived a life free of drama and scandals, this feat would later be supplanted. Now, George began to live life on the edge and on the fast lane. Sadly, it got him inevitably in trouble. In 1967, George was arrested on charges of lewd conduct, but that was not all, because in 1974 he was arrested on charges of perversion for using the men's bathroom as a place of inappropriate behavior and intercourse. However, those charges were eventually dismissed. But in 1967 and 1975, he was back in cuffs again for trespassing and disturbing the peace. Thankfully, they were misdemeanor offenses, and so he pled guilty. One would only wonder where all these behaviors came from. But after 1975, George stayed away from trouble and lived a fairly normal and quiet life. But sadly, no one can run from the jaws of inevitability, the sad demise. By now, George Maharis had lived a good life. He had left a mark and retired to his home in Beverly Hills. But even at that, no one was fully prepared for what came next. It was May 24th, 2023, when Maharis finally passed at the age of 94. On one hand, he was mourned by those who loved and cherished him, but on the other, it called for a celebration of a life well lived. Picture this. You're an aspiring actor, fresh off the bus in Los Angeles, starry-eyed with dreams of making it big in Hollywood. The palm trees, the mansions, the red carpets, it's everything you've ever dreamed of. But there's a shadowy side to this city of dreams, secrets that the top Hollywood producers whisper about behind closed doors. You start hearing whispers, murmurs of certain practices, certain topics Hollywood producers will never dare discuss publicly. Why? Because acknowledging them could shatter the very foundation of the entertainment industry. It's more than just the casting couch or the competitive nature of auditions. It's something deeper, more sinister. You think to yourself, is this the price of fame? Are these the unspoken rules I must navigate? Dive with me into the enigmatic underbelly of Hollywood, where we unveil what producers won't ever talk about. This might just be the most riveting story you've never heard. They manipulate contracts. Read the fine print, everyone advises. But when you are an aspiring and talented actor trying to break into the Hollywood industry, you may not really care about agreements or the fine print. All you want is to make some money and get some recognition so you can get other opportunities. Producers know this, and sadly, they use this to their advantage and their advantage only. A lot of Hollywood producers have been known to find great actors and actresses and prey on their naivety. They work on projects with some of these actors and pay them stipends, even when the movie project does really well. By the time the actor knows what's going on, it is already too late and they have to lick their own wounds. But you do not have to take my word for it. Let's expose some of the culprits, shall we? Ever heard of the 1986 movie Aliens? Or perhaps Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows in 2011? These movies were produced by the same man, John Richardson, and while he has been given a lot of accolades for his work, his dark side is that he exploits actors. One glaring example of an exploitative contract in the case of Megan Parker, a talented young actress with dreams of making it big in Hollywood. She auditioned for a supporting role in a promising independent film, only to find herself caught in a web of deceit. The producer, John Richardson, preyed on her lack of industry experience and offered her an unfair contract with unfavorable terms. The pay rate offered was well below the industry standard, and the contract included an exploitative clause that prevented her from pursuing any other acting opportunities for the duration of the film's production. Megan Parker was way too new to the game to know what she was getting herself into, but when she found out she had been ripped off, it was too late. She had signed the contract and was bound by the agreement. Another notable case where producers exploit actors is the notable case of Academy Award-winning actress Emma Thompson. However, in this case, things didn't go quite as the producer, Robert Harrison, had planned. Thompson had signed on for a leading role in a highly anticipated film, only to discover that the contract limited her creative input and forced her to accept a significantly reduced pay rate. In most other cases, actors usually bow to the whims of the producer, but Thompson was not going to take this lying down. Unwilling to compromise her artistic integrity, she took a brave stand and negotiated fiercely with Harrison, eventually securing more favorable terms and preserving her independence as an actor. Sadly, cases like this where the actor wins are usually very rare. As a matter of fact, a lot of these greedy producers get away with their exploitation and none is the wiser. According to sources, some actually love to look out for desperate yet talented young actors and then feed them soothing words about how they would become stars if they accepted the contract. They make the contract look good, and because the actor is new and has no legal representation, they sign it in excitement and eventually get trapped in the web of lies the producer has woven.
An unravelable web.
Even worse is that as many cases are out there, they are only the reported ones. There are likely to be hundreds more cases like this that never see the light of day as a result of either the actor's shame or the producer's influence. In the grand scheme of things, a lot of producers are guilty of this evil but will never share it with the world. They also force the actors to not to share their stories, and this is one of the dark secrets that they keep under wraps. But perhaps this is a better evil when compared to the next industry secret that producers will never tell anyone. They exchange movie roles for time in the sheets. Let's face it, Hollywood is probably the most competitive industry on the planet. Millions aspire, but only a few dozen eventually make it in. On the path leading to Hollywood success, there are a lot of obstacles and stumbling blocks in your way, and this is why we always celebrate anyone who makes it in and steals our hearts with their amazing talent. As the American dream depicts, you can make it in America if you work hard and remain persistent, right? Wrong. To a very large extent, producers have a huge influence and they decide who gets in and who doesn't. Seems reasonable, doesn't it? The only problem is that while some of these producers base the casting on talents, some do so based on other talents outside of acting. These producers reportedly prey on young women aspiring to make it in Hollywood, and they are always on the lookout for beautiful young women who are desperate enough to satisfy their sick desires. How do they do it, you ask? Well, it's said to start at some exclusive parties and events that double as their hunting grounds. They term it as exclusive parties, and almost everyone who's anyone in Hollywood shows up. Rationally, this would be Candyland for any actress aspiring to get opportunities in Hollywood, and they know this, so they simply throw this big party and wait. Sure enough, hopeful actresses show up and soon the whole place is littered with them, like moths to bright lights. And then these unscrupulous producers swing into action. They shower these hopeful actresses with attention, charm, and promises of stardom. They would say anything to get these women excited and even more hopeful. It's a deadly dance of ambition and vulnerability, and these women find themselves caught in a web where the desire for success blinds them to the hidden price they may have to pay. Allegedly, some of these producers would subtly propose a transaction between them and the talent desperate for a chance to prove themselves. The transaction is obviously outside the confines of professionalism and talent. Something more personal and intimate involves them meeting the producers at a hotel. A lot of these actresses are blindsided by this request, but by then it is too late. They are threatened if they refuse and told they will never get another opportunity with any other producer because they will badmouth and blacklist them. Given not much of a choice, these young hopefuls are lured into a deceitful trap between the devil and the deep blue sea. This occurrence is more common than most people imagine, and it is still whispered around in the industry today. The young hopefuls have no choice but to succumb and keep silent afterward, no matter how disturbed they feel about it. It also does not help that these producers are so wealthy and powerful, and so even when the producers don't eventually give them these roles, nothing is said and done against them. Silence is maintained because the victims fear the consequences of speaking up against producers so revered and respected. Producers discriminate in sharing profits. If we are being honest, we all have our favorite actors and actresses from our favorite movies. For some reason, we prefer them to all others, and we can decide to watch a movie just because they are in it. But it turns out that some Hollywood producers secretly have favorite actors in the industry, and when it comes to sharing profit, they tend to favor their favorites and give the other actors significantly lower payouts. This particular secret was still largely unknown until the controversy behind the film American Hustle. In this captivating drama, several actors embarked on a journey that would change their lives forever. Jeremy Renner and Bradley Cooper, both talented and established in their craft, stepped into the shoes of their characters, hoping to bring them to life on the silver screen. Little did they know that behind the scenes, a different script was being written, one of unequal compensation and shattered expectations. As the cameras rolled and the story unraveled, the cast of American Hustle soon discovered a startling truth. While their co-stars, Jennifer Lawrence and Amy Adams, basked in the glow of fame and fortune, Renner and Cooper found themselves standing in the shadows of inequity. It was revealed that they had received a significantly smaller percentage of the film's profits compared to their female counterparts. The curtain lifted, and the spotlight illuminated the dark reality that lurked beneath the film. The American Hustle profit-sharing dispute became a battle cry, echoing across the industry, shedding light on the pervasive issue of pay disparity. This real-life drama drew attention to the systemic inequities that had long plagued Hollywood. With the stage set and the truth exposed, a call for change reverberated through the hearts and minds of actors and audiences alike. The question arose, why were talented individuals, equally dedicated to their craft, receiving unequal compensation? The answer, it seemed, lay in the twisted webs of favoritism and the invisible hand of power, the producers. There was reason to believe that the producers of the film purposely dispensed the profits that way due to favoritism and no other cogent reason. Allowing controlled substances on set. Sure, every producer wants their star actors to be at peak performance on set and deliver well, but a hushed industry secret is that sometimes some producers go a little too far in boosting their actors' morale. It was whispered among the elite circles that the stars, those A-list luminaries that graced our screens, were bestowed with an endless supply of their favorite vice. The rumor mill churned with tales of a clandestine arrangement between the silver screen and their beloved performers. But the truth was far stranger than fiction. One day, legendary actor Dennis Quaid stepped forward, shedding light on this mysterious underworld. He dared to reveal the hidden truths. Dennis confessed to a casual addiction to coke, a shadow that once loomed over his rise to stardom. It all began when he embarked on his journey to the City of Angels in 1974, innocent and curious. In those early days, he dabbled with the controlled substance, a mere taste of what was to come, but it wasn't until he secured roles in mainstream films that the grip tightened and the allure of the white powder intensified. Coke, as he disclosed, held a secret place in the budgets of these movies, camouflaged under the name petty cash. It was a cunning disguise, ensuring that the substance-fueled sets remained shrouded in secrecy. Dennis Quaid confessed that the sets themselves became havens for the indulgence of this powerful substance. It was freely distributed, passed around like candy, for it had become the norm, an unspoken ritual that bound the actors and actresses together. In the intoxicating haze of those moments, Dennis Quaid unknowingly danced with his own downfall. Reflecting upon those tumultuous times, the actor admitted that his addiction to coke had been one of his gravest mistakes. It had torn apart the very fabric of his existence, leaving no stone unturned. The bright lights that once illuminated his path had dimmed, replaced by a haunting darkness that threatened to consume him entirely. But Dennis Quaid was not alone in this tumultuous journey. Even the iconic Jack Nicholson, a man who had charmed audiences with his enigmatic presence, had his own tale to tell. In a candid interview back in 1980, he nonchalantly remarked, "Drugs ain't no big thing." It was a bold proclamation, a testament to his unabashed love for getting high, a pursuit that occupied his attention for 4 glorious days every week. The Hollywood producers, those puppet masters of the silver screen, held the strings that controlled the destiny of their stars. They crafted an environment where the allure of controlled substances could flourish and where the actors and actresses could reach unprecedented heights of performance. They have fixers on speed dial. If you think about it, Hollywood is a business. Everyone you see in the industry may be there for the passion, but the money is a really huge motivating factor, from the actors to the directors and most certainly the producers. However, in the business of Hollywood, the public decides what sells and what doesn't. And one of the things that just does not sell are actors with scandals. It is bad for business, and these producers will do anything to get rid of scandals around the actors they want to work with. Now, admittedly, this is not so bad, but they would go to any lengths. Supposing an actress was working on a project and a scandal hits, the producers are put in a very bad spot. If they continue with the actress, the project is doomed to fail, and ultimately, it is too late to stop. So what do? They call a fixer, someone who is skilled at making problems go away. Michael Citrick was one of Hollywood's greatest fixers, and this was only underground knowledge. Citrick is a seasoned professional in the industry, known for his skill in turning negative stories in the press into positive ones. He has been labeled as a spinmeister, demonstrating his expertise in reshaping public narratives. Over the years, Citrick has successfully handled the reputation management of numerous high-profile clients, such as David Lee Roth and the controversial NFL quarterback Michael Vick. When it comes to handling controversies, Citrick excels. If a celebrity finds themselves bombarded with negative press, there's no doubt that Citrick is the go-to person they would want by their side. His ability to tackle difficult situations head-on is his greatest strength. You might notice a sudden surge of positive articles about a famous individual who has been caught in a compromising situation, and it's highly probable that Citrick, or someone similar to him, is diligently working behind the scenes. In essence, Citrick's expertise lies in crafting a new narrative, one that highlights the positive aspects and minimizes the impact of negative events. He understands the power of perception and works tirelessly to shape it in favor of his clients. By utilizing various strategic methods, Citrick helps his clients regain control over their public image and navigate the tumultuous waters of media scrutiny. And most Hollywood producers have a citric on speed dial. They mount an unhealthy amount of pressure on their stars. In their pursuit of ephemeral beauty, Hollywood starlets are not only judged by their adoring fans and the unforgiving public, but also by the agents and producers who wield their power like a double-edged sword. Like a relentless storm, these unseen forces push them towards perilous paths, demanding that they shed pounds in the most perilous of ways. But this is not just a claim. As a matter of fact, Demi Lovato backs this up when she recalls a time when she was younger. She would stare at her belly and ponder if it would ever be taut and flat. As the sands of time flowed, she finally found her way to Hollywood. And there, her eating disorder was not only noticed, but encouraged by some of the producers she worked with. Naomi Watts is another example. Known for her ethereal presence, she dared to share a harrowing truth. In their quest for her perfection, she was forced to starve, sacrificing her own well-being upon the altar of a red carpet appearance. But let us not forget the voices that rise from within this realm, like whispers of defiance against the engulfing tide. Ashley Graham, a beacon of resilience, divulged a chilling encounter with a producer whose motives reeked of malevolence. As he waved crisp $20 bills before her very eyes, he hissed promises of greater fortune if only she would shed her weight. Many other actresses have stories like these. It is the dark secret that the producers keep close to their hearts. Some producers may be involved in organized crime. Amid the glimmering lights of the Sunset Strip, one establishment stood out in Hollywood's lore, the Trocadero, affectionately known as the Troc. This legendary hotspot became a nexus where stars, producers, and mobsters crossed paths, blurring the lines between the silver screen and the criminal underworld. Here, amidst the clinking glasses and laughter, celebrities and studio heads found themselves rubbing shoulders with figures like Mickey Cohen, a notorious gangster with deep ties to organized crime. The Trocadero's allure lay in its ability to draw in the rich and famous, creating an atmosphere of mystery and intrigue. The convergence of Hollywood elites and criminal masterminds painted a vivid picture of a world where fame and infamy intersected. While the stories of these encounters remain largely anecdotal, they hint at a symbiotic relationship that fueled speculation about the entanglement of organized crime within Hollywood's power structures. The reach of organized crime in Hollywood did not dissipate with the passing of the Golden Age. In the 1970s, whispers of nefarious dealings emerged with links to the production and distribution of major films. One such case was Bryanston Pictures, a company entangled in controversy and rumored connections to a prominent mafia crime family. Bryanston Pictures found itself in the spotlight due to its involvement in the release of the cult horror classic, The Texas Chainsaw Massacre. The film, directed by Tobe Hooper, sent shockwaves through audiences and became an iconic symbol of the horror genre. However, behind the scenes, Bryanston Pictures was dogged by allegations of mafia involvement, creating a sinister aura that surrounded its operations. While the exact nature of the connections remains speculative, these allegations perpetuated a perception of organized crime's influence in Hollywood. The potential infiltration of the film industry and producers by criminal elements conjured a chilling notion that the shadows cast by the silver screen extended beyond mere storytelling. Hiring paparazzi. When actors become subjects of paparazzi attention, they are thrust into the limelight, leading to the construction of a persona that is both relatable and fascinating to the public. And Hollywood producers are well aware of this fact, and so they use it to their advantage, hiring paparazzi for the actors they want to work with. But why? Well, for one, paparazzi images, accompanied by media coverage, depict actors in various situations, ranging from red carpet events to private outings. This curated portrayal of actors helps shape public perceptions, often aligning with the characters they portray on screen. The audience begins to associate the actor's personal life with their on-screen roles, thereby creating a deeper emotional connection with their performances. But sometimes, these products take the paparazzi thing a little too far. Controversy. While the intention behind hiring paparazzi is to generate positive publicity, controversy can inadvertently arise from their intrusive tactics. In some instances, scandals and personal struggles become fodder for tabloids, attracting widespread media attention. While this type of publicity may be detrimental to an actor's public image in the short term, it can paradoxically generate increased interest in their future projects. The public's fascination with scandal and redemption narratives often translates into higher viewership, as audiences are drawn to witness an actor's ability to overcome challenges both on and off screen. The practice of producers hiring paparazzi for the purpose of enhancing an actor's popularity is not without controversy. Critics argue that it invades an individual's privacy and perpetuates a culture of intrusion and harassment. Moreover, they contend that it undermines the authenticity of an actor's image and fosters a reliance on manufactured publicity rather than genuine talent. Balancing ethical concerns with the demands of the entertainment industry remains a challenging task for all stakeholders involved. But remember, Hollywood is a business, and these producers intend to run it well. Granted, some of the things these producers do deserve some serious jail time. The year was 1964. A new franchise was making its debut on CBS, and everyone behind it was scared to the bones. There were 1,001 questions. What if no one liked it? It was an unconventional idea, but in the first episode, one small, tiny mistake slipped past the eyes of the team, a crew member visible in the film, ruining the illusion. This was the first of many little mistakes that eventually led to the most fatal mistake and ended the 2-year run of what would have been a timeless series, The Munsters Next Door. Everyone is familiar with an everyday suburban family. We see them every day. We have some of them as friends. We could even be them. But what if your average suburban family wasn't so average and were actually a family of monsters? This was the idea that crossed the mind of Bob Clampett. He had been tinkering with the idea between 1943 to 1945, and he believed it was time to breathe life into it, so he decided to pitch it to Universal Studios. It was crazy. It was wild. Very unusual and definitely original, and there was every chance that the studio would reject it. But Bob, being an animator, believed in it so much that he sold it to them. Did they buy it? Absolutely. But there was another problem. The executives were divided on how the movie should be aired. While some believed it should be a cartoon, others thought a live action was the way to go. Eventually, the live-action side of the board prevailed, and in 1964, the live-action pilot of the show was aired. It was titled My Fair Munster. In all honesty, it was a stab in the dark. The movie may have gone from being a mere idea to being executed, but whether or not it'll be accepted by the public was a whole different ballgame altogether. Thankfully, Fred Gwynne and Al Lewis, the first cast, did a great job as a result of their O-screen chemistry, and the public fell in love with not just them, but the movie itself. Right from the pilot scene, it was already a great success, and thus, what would become a 2-year franchise was born. But after 2 years of a good run, the show finally stopped and is now a shadow of its former self. Everything that starts must end, and so the show eventually had to draw its own curtains, right? Wrong. There are a few factors that forced the Munsters show to draw the curtains against their own will. Mistakes that sunk their fangs into the heart of the show and eventually ended its run. And the first one, you may not have seen coming even if you were a fan of the show: sloppy production mistakes. The show may have painted this eerie and enchanting world that has captivated the hearts and interest of thousands, if not millions of people. However, behind all the spookiness and charm, there is a flaw, a terrible flaw that may have been hard to notice, but even more difficult to ignore when you do. Remember those mysterious bats that were fluttering through the air in the show, how they would cast their ominous shadows upon the unsuspecting residents of 1313 Mockingbird Lane? Well, here's the kicker. As they soared with an air of grandeur, even when the viewers knew that the movie was fiction, there was a fatal flaw in those scenes that would infuriate anyone who saw it. In their fervor to capture the essence of these winged creatures, the creators of the Munsters employed the use of wires, an ingenious trick that unfortunately didn't escape the prying eyes of those who sought out every minute detail. It turns out that during those scenes, the wires were still showing, which ruined the illusion of the bats flying on their own, and it sent the critics to Critic Town. A mistake that slipped through the producers, but when critics start pointing things out, the show would not doubt be affected. But if you think the mistakes are over, think again. Terrible plot inconsistency. Well, one may argue that when you have a show where monsters and humans are living side by side, a lot of things are bound to go wrong. plot-wise, but the holes in this plot are apparently too terrible to ignore. For one, on the show, the Munsters regard their niece Marilyn, who looks like the ideal beauty of non-monster people, as ugly and deformed, yet everyone else in the town of Mockingbird Heights basically looks like Marilyn. But that's not all. The Munsters also watch movies and regard then-popular stars such as Frank Sinatra and Rock Hudson as ideal men, and Grandpa's beauty potions always conjure up a beauty who looks something like Marilyn. But here's the problem. Shouldn't their concept of beauty be horrible monsters, in accordance with the premise that Marilyn is an ugly duckling? On top of all these, there's also the inconsistency where the Munsters seem not to be aware that they look radically different from non-monster people despite interacting with them on a daily basis. This begs the question, are the Munsters frightening or not? Sometimes in the show they scare non-monsters, but at other times interactions with regular people seem seamless, almost like the humans are not aware that they're interacting with monsters. The inconsistencies are way too obvious, and therefore the show has been slammed by a handful of critics. More bullets in the heart of the show, but will it finally give? This next mistake was an even harder hit. Crew member visible. Have you ever spotted a film mistake that was so bad you laughed and asked yourself, how did the crew not see that? Well, in The Munsters, the crew apparently wanted a shot in the scenes because in one of the scenes, a crew member could be seen through an open door beside the staircase. It's one of those details that you may not catch at first, but once you do, it's impossible to not see it. While some viewers caught it and had a good laugh, critics had a different perspective as they thought it was disgraceful, sloppy, and extremely unprofessional that the mistake even happened in the first place. What makes this much worse is the fact that this mistake was in the very first scene of the very first episode. Is this an unforgivable mistake, or it's just one of those things? Either way, this in turn contributed to the fall of the Munsters show. Even when they had other good reviews, a great concept and a storyline, little by little, these little mistakes poisoned the perception of the show until this next thing caused it to fall off completely. Leave! Batman's in town. Despite all the bad comments and critics, the Munsters show was still a resounding success, so much so that it was running for 2 years straight until another bully show came into town and bodies the Munsters. The name of the show? Batman. As the Batman movie hit theaters, it captured the attention of millions of people. Moviegoers flocked to cinemas eager to see their favorite superhero in action. This surge in popularity meant that people had less time and interest to watch other shows on TV, including the Munsters. As a result, the ratings for the Munsters began to plummet. With low rankings and declining viewership, the producers of the Munsters faced a challenging situation. They relied on advertising revenue and audience support to keep the show running, but the decline in viewers made it difficult to sustain the production. Despite their best efforts, they couldn't compete with the overwhelming popularity of the Batman movie. Sadly, the impact of the Batman movie on the Munsters was severe. The show struggled to attract advertisers who preferred to invest their resources in the highly successful Batman franchise. The declining ratings also made it harder for the show to secure a prime time slot, further decreasing its chances of survival. Eventually, the producers of the Munsters had to make the difficult decision to end the show. It was a disappointing outcome for the cast, crew, and loyal fans who had supported the series for 2 years. The Batman movie's immense success became a determining factor in the downfall of the Munsters, forcing them to pack up and quit. According to one of the producers, Patrick, he said, "I think Batman was to blame." Unfortunately, this show came to a very sad end.